This will be a meeting of the Hennessy Town Board of Trustees, May 12th, 2022. Roll call, please.
David,
Here.
Cliff,
Here.
Bert,
Here.
Harold,
Here.
Richard.
Here. Item 2 is report from the Hennessy United Board. Barbara? Got anything? No. Okay. Item 3, consider approval of consent agenda. Minutes of the March meetings, approval of claims as follows. April purchase orders, $7,131.68. May purchase orders, $18,424.82. May restricted sales tax fund, $17,397.56. May library fund, $229.72. May street and alley fund, 0. I think I've ever seen that before. And accept the following reports: treasurer, library, and police.
If there's no additions or corrections, I will make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Second, roll call.
Cliff,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Okay, citizens' comments. Anybody? Anybody?
You have anything?
He's got his, I
He's-
think, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do.
you do?
Question, I guess.
Okay.
It seems like I remember in the past that we had to wait until we heard from some governmental agency before we ran the siren for tornadoes. Was that, we don't have to? Was there some reason the siren wasn't run whenever it was that Monday night when they were so close?
We were
Here.
close.
Okay.
We were close.
I mean, they were telling us on TV to take cover,
Right.
so,
We were close. I was in contact with Jack. We had spotters out, and we were close to doing it.
Okay.
And found out the next day, we did a test that some of them were not properly working, so we have now remedied that problem.
okay, that was gonna be my next question. So, okay.
Yeah. And we are still in
So
the
are
process.
they all working now? I mean, did you get them fixed?
I know all are working, except there's one I'm not sure about that I haven't talked with. It takes both the electric power and a telephone line to activate it. And I know we had a telephone line with a problem on the one on Oakwood Drive. So,
The one where?
on Oakwood Drive.
Okay.
You know Oakwood Drive.
Oh,
And we are still, working toward replacing the entire system. Part of that is my fault, part of it is because our OG&E got changed. He and I have got to go around, I need to show him where we want them, we've got a map, and need to coordinate with them to make sure that we can get power input to them from those locations.
did we get a grant or something on that, or was that a long time ago that we? No, okay. Any idea what the cost is gonna be?
Not now. I would not be surprised if it's not close to 200,000. And the board has previously approved to go out for an RFP on those to see. But what we're asking for will be an electrical siren. However, it's going to have a battery backup. It will all be radio controlled so that in the event of power outage or telephone line down, they will still activate. The other issue with that, Barb, is that as fiber optic is being more and more available, Pioneer's telling me they're eventually going to pull out all of the copper. And when they pull out copper wiring, that's going to take away the activation. Not that they couldn't be, I'm sure there's a way they could be activated through an app, but what we've got will be a system, or what we will be getting will be a system that will test itself every day. Doesn't mean it goes off every day, but it sends a signal out and sends a signal back to the main station to report that, if we've got a battery issue or what, so.
So how does that work? I mean, you notify the police department, I mean, isn't that where the button goes? Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah, the control is at the police department, yes. And I anticipate with the new system, the control would remain there. However, they also could be activated off of, do you have your handheld on you?
That's in my car.
On a handheld or a in-car radio as well. So we'll just have to see what all radios we put that on. I could see issues with somebody getting on the wrong channel, pushing their mic
Yes,
button
yeah.
and tripping the system, so.
All right, thank
It will
you.
be,
Bert, it sounds like you said you're going to apply for some funding somewhere.
no, we've got money in the emergency services department to fund that.
Is that county money or
No, it's town.
budget?
Any other citizens' comments? Town administrator report.
Sorry, I didn't get this out earlier. There's been no employees hired. We do have openings in our streets and parks department and also our library staff. So if you know of anybody looking for a job, send them our way, because we're having problems getting applications. But I think that's workforce wide, so. Also, there was no emergency purchasing for the month. They're all in the numbers that you had and what you signed. The handbook, I asked last month for you guys to come in and visit with me over the handbook. Nobody's come in. So I'm just gonna proceed with what I've got from the attorney and bring a finished product to you next month. The CDBG grant, we did get awarded, that we applied for in March. We got awarded $300,000 in grant money, and then we'll put in, I think it's like $124,000 with that for the phase 2 of the drainage project. So right now, we're working on all the paperwork part, and as soon as we get all the paperwork finished up, then we'll be able to go out for bid and stuff like that. So Barb will get her street somewhat fixed.
The 124,000, is that money that we had left over from the?
That's in
other-
our street funds.
Okay, so it is some funds, it's not me.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The OWRB grant, we got awarded that. So we've got awarded 2 grants in the past couple of weeks. The OWRB grant is for the sewer system. It's $220,000 for us to go in, study our sewer system, find out where the problems are, and then our engineer will go back in and they will develop a set of plans for replacement or repairs or whatever needs to be done in those areas. So we will have a completed set of plans ready to go out for construction, where we can find money for construction.
Is that from the grant from the water board, state
Yes.
water board?
Oklahoma Water Resources Board, yes. Sorry.
That's $500,000 in a few weeks. And
Yes.
265, so that's $750,000.
Yes.
Way to go.
Thank you. So, so there's a lot of stuff going on because we still have over on the project, the sewer project that we're supposed to be doing over on the Osborne addition. We've been hung up. OG&E has tons of lines in there when we went out to stake it. And so we're waiting on them to move their lines before we can go in there and start digging. Because we have to stay we have to stay at least 10 feet away from their lines. And there's one corner, the far southwest corner, there's no way. I mean, with all the lines that they have, we can't even put it anywhere with that, so.
And they have agreed to move those?
Yes.
and
Mhm.
Did they give you a time frame?
No, Bonnie talked to him on the 4th, and they're trying to plan it. They're trying to make the plan so they can send it to the construction company to do. She thought she looked it out. So they're trying to do it quickly.
Okay.
But we're at the mercy of them right now.
Why are there so many electrical lines out there? It's kind of sparsely populated.
I think because this housing addition has been kind of hodgepodged in there. they didn't go in and put in all of the infrastructure before they started building homes. And so that's why I think that it is like that.
Added as if gone.
And then the budget, you guys will have it, we're gonna have that here in a minute, but I do ask that each of you really study that and come talk to me over the next couple of weeks, because I'll have a finished product to the paper within a couple of weeks. So, and my last thing is I want to ask that, I know you guys all stop in and everything, but maybe I can start, I'm trying to be more proactive instead of reactive, yes. So if maybe when you come in, or you know you're gonna come in, let me know and we can sit down and talk about things that you would like to see, or things that people have communicated with you, things that you wanna go visit with the town. Just, I would really like to sit down with each one of you one-on-one, once a month. So,
Tiffany, I thank you for making that offer. I have been wanting to come in on occasion, but you're wearing the Public Works Director hat, and you got that swimming pool to look after. To me, that's a full-time job by itself, and I've been hesitant to come in.
hey, I have.
It'd take time.
I make time, so you guys just come in and visit with me, I make time. But I think that way we can all be, I mean, I can be more on the same track with you guys. So I think that would be very helpful.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion.
But that's all I have.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's more than enough.
Okay, other scheduled business, discuss, approve, deny, reject, and/or take action on the following. Item A is discussion with possible action on sidewalk repairs. Cliff?
I had a person that lives in town purchase a house with a sidewalk, and he called and wanted to know who made repairs on the sidewalk, who upkept the sidewalks and things like that. And in our ordinance that, then I came down and talked to Tiffany, and she said in our ordinance, it is the property owner's obligation to keep the sidewalk up to and in good repair. So,
Okay.
This got put on there because the last I knew he was still coming. And so that's why this is on the.
that's a good idea, but that's,
Yeah.
That being said, I have looked at some sidewalks that have been pointed out to me. The one in particular that you've talked about, I didn't see an issue with.
yeah.
But we have one over here on the corner of Second and Main that is buckled. The one at Oklahoma and Main is buckled. These are relatively new sidewalks that the federal government, under the Obama administration, come in and put in under their, I think it was the Works Ready program or something. And in all honesty, I don't know if it was an engineering issue or construction issue, but we've got sidewalks that are ramps, that literally.
Yeah.
And when Tiffany had talked with our city attorney about the responsibility of the sidewalks, he said that the town could share in putting so much aside for sidewalk repair. And I honestly, if you walk up and down Main Street sidewalk, seems like especially on the west side of the street, there's some big issues that I feel like are not the property owner's fault or problem, because the federal and state government come in and did it. Now, does that make it the town of Hennessy's problem? Not really, but it's our citizens who are walking up and down these streets, and I would like to see us be able to repair those. I mean, we've got some real hazards. And so, Tiffany, is that something we would need to You would recommend setting aside in the annual budget so much
Yes.
for sidewalk repair?
But speaking of the ones on the highway, I really want to put a call into ODOT to see if they would share or take on the responsibility of repairing those.
I think that's a great idea.
I think like the one in Honeycomb, it's got like 8 inches, it's almost a bicycle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really bad.
And some reason, every block on that side of the street from Honeycomb all the way to Main Street or to Oklahoma is lifted up on each corner, you know? And, you know, this Oklahoma wheelchair person cannot get in that curve because of that pole sitting there. And the way they did the curve is lifted up. So they have to try to wheel in between that pole and that. And then once they get in front of the lawyer's office, it drops down about 2 inches. And then, you know, if they're a wheelchair, they got to have somebody to assist them up to that.
Yeah, I will, I'll put a call into ODOT because those are ones, because if we go in and we start repairing sidewalks along the highway, we may not do them to their
their spec.
specifications. And then they'll have to come in and redo them if they ever should resurface this road. So I think maybe perhaps that ODOT might be interested in.
I think that'd be a very good place to start. Because I think, I don't remember if ODOT put them in under the federal government or if it was just a federal project.
I don't remember either.
It was,
I don't remember either,
But
but
that is that, the one that's over there on that corner, it's different than all the other corners. You know, the one at the bank is wide open, you can wheelchair any way you want. The one over here by the fabric shop, basically the same way. Over there, you got one little entrance in there. Even the one over there by Mercantile, you can go up 2 sides. They left a little V right there for some reason.
up an island.
I don't know, because
I'm just
we
saying.
questioned some of their plans and that was what their engineer,
It's kind of that way or the highway, no pun intended. I mean,
would that include where the wellness center is?
Yes.
Because I about broke my neck.
on that little island,
No.
That little triangle?
I mean, yeah, just trying to park on the side on Oklahoma Avenue and going up. It's one of those, I could see it, but, you know, take care of us elderly.
but yeah.
okay.
But I would like to maybe start putting money in the budget
For other sidewalks.
for other sidewalks. Because I know we probably need to make sure we keep a safe route to, you know, the main routes to school.
Right.
Keep our sidewalks maintained where we can
Can
help
I-
people maintain.
Can I ask this question? How do you grade, how many handicap parking spots do you have per town?
It's based on,
Fire marshal. Fire marshal will actually do it like with restaurants, they'll sit there and tell you how many occupancy you can have, and tell you how many handicap you're supposed to have,
yeah.
and then
it's
how many
in
spaces that you're available in
Yeah,
that
it's
area.
based on your building size, and things like that too. Because I know we have that in our ordinance, how many, and it's based off the ADA.
Okay, anything else on that? Item B is discussion with possible action to approve Discover Hennessy project as presented by Jack Quirk.
I know we have a long agenda, so I'll do this quickly.
Thank you.
You answered too quickly. My lovely assistant is passing out the proposal right now, but some of you might remember, I'm thinking it's 10 years ago, we made a proposal sort of like this, but it was mostly to brand Hennessy. I think Tiffany was part of that, and Bert might have been, but I don't think anyone else here was part of that. But it was too expensive, and we were hiring out all the work to get this to happen. Every successful has a Convention and Visitors Bureau or a Chamber of Commerce. All on Hennessy has pretty much become the Chamber of Commerce based, on what we do for the businesses and things like that. But no one is really looking at the big picture in Hennessy as far as the town's outbound appearance and the marketing it takes to rise above all the noise. With all the towns in our area, it's really hard to set ourselves apart, if you would. This thing I'm proposing would be paid for entirely by the hotel tax, because that's essentially what it's for, is to promote our town, bring people to town and put them in our hotel. The current hotel tax, I guess as of a few days ago, is $185,000, and it brings in about $1,500 per month, I guess based on how busy the hotel gets. So this is a two-part plan. And I'll start with, if you look at this right here, this sheet, the first part of the plan talks about, it's all about branding. It's getting us ready for, to accept tourists, if you would. Just put my junk here. All right, so phase one would be to create the Discover Hennessy campaign. And it'll focus on preparing Hennessy to become a destination. The goal is to focus on encouraging visitors to spend a day and even a night in Hennessy. But to get people to want to pay attention and to be taken seriously, we have to get our branding straight. And right now, this is where Hennessy is at. And I know that Tiffany's already working really hard on this and making a lot of progress. We have a new town logo. But even as it is, there are still 8 or 10 different logos running around town, especially with the water towers and things like that. And even though the new police cars look wonderful, they don't have the Hennessy logo on them. They're not branded. So part of this would be to get the town properly looking professional, if you would. If you look at this page here, the one that says Roanoke on it, this is kind of a good example of what I have in mind. This is Roanoke, Texas. This is the town right next to the NASCAR track in Texas. It's in North Texas. And everything matches it. The water tower looks like the entry sign, it looks like the gazebo, that looks like everything. Everything is just nice and clean. I think the best way to put it is it looks like a Mayberry, okay? And I think even though we have a very nice town, I think there's a lot that could be done to raise the bar a little bit, to look a little more appealing, a little more attractive, okay? So phase one would include working on curb appeal, work to improve the small areas that need some attention. A big part of this will be branding. Create the Hennessy brand, creating the common look across the board. That would be letterhead, all correspondence and materials with logo, getting all the town's trucks and equipment property logoed, get the way signs installed. I think these have already been purchased. We just need to figure out what we're going to put on them and where they're going to go. Banners on Main Street. Banners on Main Street would be like on this Roanoke where they're on the light poles, kind of stuff like that. All the signage in town should match. Like for example, on here, Bullfoot Park has a sign, the Memorial Park has a different sign, the Pat Hennessy Park has a different sign. There's no consistency across the board. And then my perfect world, I'd like to paint the water tower other than oil field silver and put a logo on it. You know, it used to be you'd have to actually paint that on the tower, and nowadays it's just a decal, and it could be easily applied. In fact, I talked to Terrell. He said he's not going to climb up there and do it, but you can actually wrap a water tower now, like you do a car, like a full color wrap all the way around it, and that goes with the water column and the water tower. You could do some really neat stuff with those. Okay. Identifying and leverage all our rural community assets for tourism, including architecture, art, commerce, cuisine, customs, landmarks, history, and our people. And then create a complete list of any assets that would be of interest to someone coming here. For example, the Chisholm Trail has just been declared a national trail. So now there's grant money available. The trail is much more promoted, and it's our main street. I mean, there's just all kinds of opportunities that, you know, we could coordinate with Duncan and El Reno and the others up the line to create a trail festival, okay? I think there actually was one a couple years ago, but they zoomed right by us and didn't slow down. Well, you know, we'll send Aaron out there and slow them down. Welcome to Hennessy. And then a big part of this would be the creation of the Discovery Hennessy on the All About Hennessy website. What this would be is a destination where people would go. We would research and build up the SEO for Discover Hennessy, and that is to get the search engine optimization way up there. Okay, our website is already the very top for this area, but it would push it even farther. So anytime someone types in things to do in Northwest Oklahoma, we'd pop up, or things to do, you know, car shows or whatever, we'd be right up there at the top. Okay, but it would be a destination to go to find out what's going on here. We create a place for temporary signage in Memorial Park for awareness. There's ways to hang banners without T-posts and without getting into a lot of detail. I think we talked about that a little bit. Of course, the ultimate way would be to put an LED sign up, but they're ridiculously expensive, and what I've learned is putting them up is the cheap part. It's keeping them working is the hard part. So my suggestion would be to create a structure that's very nice looking that you can attach a banner to with permission from the town, and it wouldn't fall down and blow over and get ripped and look crummy. I hate banners that are stuck up with a T-post. They just look like junk. Work with the town to reestablish and upgrade the audio speakers on Main Street. They're kind of not working very well anymore. And then this is a really important one, training for first contact businesses on how to be ready for travelers and visitors. For example, if you go into a convenience store and you say, what's there to do around here? We go to Enid, we don't care about here, there's nothing to do here. And there's training for that, to get people to know that here's a little brochure, there's all kinds of things to do. You know, this weekend we're having a car show, whatever, things like that. So that would be phase one. So phase one is essentially the first year of this agreement. These are the things we'll be working on to get us ready for phase two. Phase two would be implementation of the Discover Hennessy program. It will be create an outbound campaign for Discover Hennessy, create marketing materials, develop a complete list of venues and outdoor areas available for events. So for example, if someone calls and say, I need a place to have a wedding. Well, the conversation will go, how big, whatever, and we could give them a phone number right away, where to go, where the electric outlets are, how many chairs are available, rather than, well, let me have Joe call you, and he's on vacation. And I know when I was an event planner, I would go to another town. I just wouldn't even stop, because I couldn't get answers. Okay, it would take too long. And there was no consistency on pricing or availability, that kind of thing. This would include digital flyers, a series of videos, online SEO for the Town of Hennessy and Discover Hennessy campaign. Oh, by the way, this Discover Hennessy button, if you would live on All About Hennessy's website page and the town's. The difference would be, we would host it on our site because our search engine optimization is just off the scale high. But if they did go to the Hennessy town website, there would be a button there that would lead them directly to our site. They really wouldn't know they went anywhere. Okay, it would just be a redirect. We'd create a QR code that would lead people to discover Hennessy information all in one place. And then implement a QR code on all local events and tickets. And this is really important. This little thing here, I call this the key to Hennessy. And the challenge we're having right now is that there's no communication between the school and the businesses or even the town when, say for example, they bring a tournament into town, baseball tournament or something, there's 1,000 people or 500 or 1,000 people out there. they have no idea where to go eat, what's going on. The restaurants don't know that there's 1,000 people over there, so they're not open. So part of our job would be to communicate closely with the school and other event coordinators, like Tony, and make the restaurants aware that this is happening. Are you going to be open? Are you going to have a limited menu or a full menu? What are you going to do? So when, for example, when you go to the baseball field and you buy your ticket to get in, they hand you this, okay? And on here, it lists all the restaurants that are open. There's a QR code where you can scan it with your phone and it takes you to a map where you can click and it gets big and it shows you what that restaurant's menu is for the day, those kind of things. And there's a prototype of this that we're using for Tony's event. And Angela built all of that, and it's just so cool when you see it working. And they'll be using that at the car show, okay? And then also on here are things like the ATM locations, where the hotels are, all of that kind of information is on this little card. This is a prototype. We'll make the print bigger, I believe, I promise you. But you need the readers to see that thing. Okay. And then seek out and work with event planners to bring at least 2 more major events. We have 2 right now. We have the Wonderful Wine Festival and we have Tony's car show that I hope keeps going. We need 2 more, okay? And the perfect way to do that is to find ready-built events. For example, the circus was one of those. You make a phone call, they show up, they set up, they do their thing, they go home, they pay you a little bit and they go. And it's much easier to do something like that than to do something from scratch, like where you're trying to rent all the booths and make sure everybody's happy and these kind of things. So there are a lot of those around. We just need to find them and then find the areas where we can host those kind of things. And then outbound targeted promotions. So we would, if we had an event, we would do push advertising to get the word out that these things are happening. And then we would also work very, very closely with travelok.com. Actually, the gentleman that runs it's from here, so we communicate quite often with him. And they offer services that we can tap into to help push things out even farther. They have a wonderful website. So the fine print is, this includes labor to strategize, develop, task lists, web development, and SEO, graphic design, and labor to implement these items. It does not include hard costs such as printing, labor to install items such as large signage, postage, or travel expenses. This will be a 2-year commitment, invoiced at $3,500 per month for 24 months. And I understand, Bert's laughing.
Well, I'm just thinking you were gonna wrap our water towers for that one.
Heck yeah, sure. I'm gonna get a helicopter.
Yeah.
And I'm not certain, Tiffany can answer this, but can you sign a multi-year deal, or does it have to be a 1 year with a renewal kind of a thing?
1 year with a renewal.
Okay, so that's, whatever the rules are, that's what we do. So, that's my pitch. What kind of questions can I help you with?
Well, I take that back. We could sign it, but say if there's funds not available, I mean, as long as funds are available.
Right, that would be the.
That's how you would.
Yeah, good.
Jack, what happens after the 24 months at $3,500 per month?
Okay, at that point, I guess we would reevaluate. Do we continue? It didn't work. Do we want to get bigger? Do we want to downsize? What, at that point, we would evaluate it, yeah. I mean, I would love to just keep it going,
So,
but.
Let me clarify here, make sure we're on the same page. You would be doing graphic design, marketing, everything except the actual hardware
Right.
installation type project.
For example, if we said, geez, we really need a sign here, and it's gonna be this big, we would have to get a bid. We would design it, but we'd have to get a bid to create it and install it.
Would we, you're not looking at reinventing the wheel on the signs or the logo we've already
Oh, not at all.
come on? Okay.
No, a great deal of it is just simply printing it and applying
Right.
it, like all of the trucks and the new,
Right.
equipment, things like that, would just be.
Once you design it, wouldn't it be just like putting it on a PDF and the size that you'd want, you could make it?
Oh, yeah, nowadays with digital, it's really
Like I
easy.
know, when we buy race car shirts, we gotta have a designer design our shirts. And then if we go to somewhere else, besides the person that wants to do the shirts, they won't give us that digital.
Oh, no. No, anything we create is yours.
So-
Yeah, so if we create, say we created the water tower graphic, and in 10 years it has to be replaced, well, that's your graphic, so just reprint it and put it back up. Yeah.
What color would you paint the water tower?
I don't know,
Pink?
maybe. You know, I've seen the hot and cold water tower thing go, you know, but, yeah, I don't know, I really don't know. Anything but silver, it just looks kind of oil fieldy to me, and it just might be me. And it may be that it's gonna be painted that color for a reason, I don't know. But there's a lot of towns that aren't.
White with a blue top like you've got on.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
you know.
So, you know, blue
And I
Tennessee.
don't know what, I think painting the water towers in our contract with our tank company,
Yeah, it is. We just painted this one.
yeah.
Oh, good. Figures. Next time we paint it, yeah. But there's just things, I guess my point is that I'm not really good at, I call it the Wild West. I really would like, if somebody has an idea, let's talk about it before doing it, you know, to make sure we're kind of consistent, you know, with colors and just everything. And I mean, I'm not gonna be like the, you know, oh my gosh, take it off, that's not it. It's just, I just would like a little more, let's talk about this stuff before we make big decisions on signage and the way things
Enid
look.
did this a few years back, and every sign you see
Yes.
has got their,
It is, now Enid is like, you know, they'll take it down if it doesn't match. And everything is consistent, the colors, the look. I know that the street department kind of altered it a little bit, and the world ended over there because they had to take a bunch of decals off of trucks. The guy didn't like something on it and erased it, and that didn't fly, so.
Do you have a schedule of things that you would do, you know, starting out, like the first month, what's the
Yeah, I think
plan of attack?
the biggest part of it, Barb, is a research plan to see what's the big stuff, you know, and start there. And then each month develop a plan to continue going through. And then, of course, I would report, you know, monthly or as needed on progress. Another big thing is to photograph the whole town, so we can document the change. And we can see that this is what it looked like, now here's what it looks like. There are the hard part, I hate to say this on camera, the hard part would be most of the towns, we went to Manitou Springs and Old Colorado City last week, and I spoke with the city managers there. And they have facade ordinances, where you can't just nail something on the front of your building. It has to be approved. It has to fit a certain color theme, a certain look, signage, things like that. I'm not saying we need to do that, but it may be something that if somebody's building a new building, or maybe it's an ordinance we put into effect from here forward, that if a new building goes up, it has to fit these standards. Enid has done it on Van Buren. There can't be any more tower signs. All the signs are at street level. And so as, I think the mall may have one of the last tall signs, and now their signs are way down low. It's just clutter, and, you know, it cleans things up. So that's.
To piggyback off this, one of the things with the car show and the QR code, that's something that we've noticed in these little towns. Like I said, every month we go on one of these cruises, and we visit some of these smaller towns, some smaller than Hennessy, some bigger than Hennessy. And a lot of our guys love to take pictures of their vehicles, where the photographers like to go out and take pictures of the town in itself. Well, they really don't know what's in town. And that's what, they run around town trying to find these pictures, but they don't have any information. If people came to Hennessy and had the information at their fingertips, everybody's gone digital these days. If all this information is there already, they can go, oh man, I can go over to Richard Simonix and get a really good picture of my car in front of the Sinclair place, or the Airbnb, or man, there's a really nice restaurant over here off Main Street that sells great burgers.
That's the thing that Disney, if anyone's been to Disney World, they have photo op spots all over the place. There's a sign that says photo op, and if you stand next to the sign, you get a perfect photo. And that's another thing that could be part of that.
Exactly, and these people eat this up. When we actually create cruises, and this is actually another thing that they're in the process of creating, we're starting a thing called Coder, which is King of the Road. Well, we stop off, we have this big cruise. This last cruise was 290 something miles that we had to create or finish with our vehicle before we were allowed to race. We had to stop off in certain towns and take pictures of our vehicles, to prove that we did the whole cruise. And we go in and we try to find these photo op places for our vehicles. Well, if Hennessy already had something that we can go, hey man, this is really cool, this would be a great photo op, and something that, is memorable, it would, bring people here. You could have these cars going through here. Yeah, it's all marketing. And we did this, we went through Anadarko this last cruise, and they loved it. And it was just a quick stop. Quick stop, take a picture in front of this tower, which they had a really neat looking tower, and keep going. But some people stopped and got fuel, got food, bought a couple, bags of chips and things along that nature. This is still sales taxes that was still going into Anadarko.
Another really cool thing I want to do, I noticed in Old Colorado Springs, every block had a little sign with a barcode, with a QR code on it, and you could scan it with your phone, and it was just what we're pitching, is that it'll tell you where the restaurants are, who's open, the hours, menus, all that kind of stuff.
So it'd be, you just put a sticker on the door, like you do at a
Yes.
restaurant, just have the QR code right there on the door so people.
Absolutely.
At convenience stores.
Yep, yeah. We put them every place we could possibly get them, on the back of the police car.
That's right.
So scan it going down the road. I'm a marketing guy, I'm sorry. Sword on your
You have a
uniform.
QR code on your tickets.
Yeah.
Here's a ticket, but while you're here, you might want to go
Yeah,
eat.
come buy a hand.
Way out of here.
Well, it could guide them in the direction to pay that ticket.
Yes. Put it on the map, Angie. All right, any questions? I'll let you guys get back to work.
Jack, I think I'll make one comment, sort of related, not related what you're proposing, but we've been advertising in the Red Carpet magazine. So we're advertising, I think, in 16 counties with a total population of 220,000. I added up the county population. Woodward is 90 miles away, and Oklahoma City is 75 miles away and has a metro population of 1.4 billion. Advertising is changing, and there was a magazine like Red Carpet for Central Oklahoma City and the surrounding area, and they discontinued that magazine. They're not doing it anymore.
It's not digital at all, it's just,
I didn't check the digital.
I think
part.
there may be a digital version. They just quit printing.
They quit printing.
Yeah,
That's how a lot of people are doing, they're just going digital and
Yep.
not printing.
yeah. So this Discover Hennessy thing will be essentially a digital marketing campaign for Hennessy.
Would there be a phone number? I mean, some people are still old-fashioned, want to call.
Yeah, we're gonna put Angie's cell phone on there.
I didn't know if you could like have a phone number, but it'd be like maybe a recording or something.
We need something, I agree. There's still
Something-
people that just need to talk on the phone.
Talk to
And,
somebody.
we can work how that works, either a recording or whatever.
We need some sort of human.
Some human.
Now, this is very, very good. I really, really like that, but also we need that
Yeah, I
human
agree.
touch.
I agree.
My fingers.
Somebody we can reach out and touch somebody. Thank you, Jack. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. I like it.
With this, since this is tourism and all of that, this would be able to come out of the hotel tax.
Right.
Right.
And so that's, in fact, I couldn't find my papers, so just offhand, I was thinking 2,500 a month instead of 35, but it's in the budget, so I'll have the number, but
I think the balance is 185,000, and if, this is what you told me a few weeks ago, it was like 1,500 or 2,000 a month it brings in. Yeah.
so there's money in there, and for us to continue to do the fireworks. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay.
But he came to me and I was like, well, this is really great because I'm trying to get the vehicles
Mm-hmm.
done. The way signs, Terrell's been asking me about those way signs, and I'm not good, I'm not creative. I don't even know where to put them or what to put on them, and
I
so to
thought we
me.
kind of picked places for them, did we not? Or did we just look right out here?
We just looked right out here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was loosely decided where they might go, but.
Yes, but I think this right here will help get what I've been trying to accomplish, get it going to. Because I know we even applied for a grant for the banners that go up and down Main Street. We didn't get it, but at least Shelley applied for that grant. And so it's stuff that we've been working towards, but they would be there to help us get it going.
The
I'll
park
be honest
signage
with
was
you.
brought up at your meeting by the guy who was in charge of that department too. I mean, he was saying we need to make this where they look
Right.
alike.
In fact, he's working on a new Bullfoot Park sign right now, so, with Terrell, so.
I'll be totally honest, I've never really been much in favor of Main Street banners because just from the simple reason they stay up too long and get tacky looking, and then I think it's more of a detriment than a help. But I think I think they'd be very nice if we kept up with them and kept them current and kept.
Well, I have two things that I want to propose. Have you ever been, I can't think of the name of it, the first town into Kansas on Highway 81, Colwell, has a steel arch over their Oklahoma Street. And it is epic. I mean, it causes traffic accidents. It's so cool looking. And I want something like that. And then several of the towns, part of my vacation, drove my wife nuts, is I was taking pictures of everything and talking to city managers and things while I was there, because we're on vacation. But there were two of the towns we were in had a system that from the ground, you could pull a banner across Main Street and secure it. And it was the neatest cable system so I really would like a Main Street banner, but we have to have rules, how long it's up, what it says.
Right.
You know, it's gonna come down immediately after the event, those kind of things. And I have like 100 ideas that if we can get this going, I'll bore you to death with, but I have lots of ideas.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to accept Jack Quirk's project Discover Hennessy.
Second.
Roll call?
Cliff,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes,
Bert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Well presented, thank you, Jack.
Order the helicopter. Okay, item C is discussion with possible action on food truck regulations. Richard?
evidently, we had an issue with the food trucks coming in town and setting up. And there's a question about regarding if they got all their health certificates, and what happens with the sales tax, where does it go? And Tony, I don't know if you want to add anything to
Yeah, I
that?
can kind of jump in on all this. The thing is, the food trucks come in, they say, national average is about 30% of your people eat out at night. So if you take 30% of, the 2,500 people that live here, that's about roughly 750 people. Divide that by how many people how many restaurants serve food here, you're up to 12 restaurants, or 12 places that serve food. That's if you start looking at those numbers, it starts getting bleak pretty quick for any restaurant here in town. Now when a restaurant or a food truck comes in, now you have another place that sells food. Well, the thing is most towns, being that, we do this every month in the cruises and whatnot, a lot of these food trucks have to get in with the town hall and get a permit. And in that permit, they have to show their Oklahoma health license, they have to have their state and sales, or their sales tax permits, and they have to have their most recent health inspection in there. That way, for some reason, if something happens and a concerned citizen comes up and says, hey, I've got this issue, you have that information and say, well, here's their information, which is supposed to be posted anyways. And, you know, it basically takes it off the town saying, hey, look, this is here, they paid a permit fee. A lot of these places, they charge, you know, non-events like $25 to $45 a day to sit. And the reason for it is because, you know, Golden Chick, Sonic, Gale's Grill, all these places, we have to pay property tax, which comes back, of course, to Hennessy. We pay our sales tax. You guys know that you guys are getting all this stuff. Well, the problem is that when a food truck comes here, do we know we're getting that? I mean, that's an issue. They're not paying, you know, property tax of any sorts. We don't know if they're health licensed. Now, when they're
I
sitting.
will say we do know, because if a food truck does set up, we do send the officer down there to check on it.
Okay, that's a good thing. But a lot of towns, they sit there and they still have a permit they have to get from the town. And they pay a permit that has to be posted up in the window. It has to be, you know, it's for a certain day, it has a date on it. And that way, you know, the town already has that information, so if current, you know, concerned citizens comes up, I wonder if they were actually checked, or errands come by. Oh, there's a permit there. It's got a date on it. We know that they're good to go. You know, we've got these places like Scoops that comes in and just, you know, goes over to the school, then goes over here, then goes over here. Well, a lot of these places, you know, the kids like to go over and have lunch over at Gale's or Golden Chick or Sonic or Pizza Hut. Well, it hinders a lot of your places here that support your hometown people, and it hurts. But the thing is that we're one of the few towns that I've seen that doesn't really have very many regulations on food trucks to begin with. And then my biggest concern I've seen with this is that the event that we currently have with the car show, I've actually had my life threatened because I told them no food trucks at this event. And they were like, well, you can't, you know, control that. I'll just come down there and, yeah. I was like, no, we gotta have some way to sit there and say, hey, look, during these events, we can say no. Or these events, say yes and have an event cost. You know, that goes back into possibly, you know, advertising for Hennessy. That could be another way of help funding that. So that it's just one of those things that I think the town itself needs to have some type of regulation on and permitting.
I see a couple of things on this. One, we don't get property tax. I wasn't shaking my head no. But the town of Hennessy, I wish we did benefit from property tax. But I do think it's important to protect our brick and mortar businesses that are paying sales tax. One thing that concerns me as a business person who fills out a sales tax report every month is that you're required to break down what cities and counties you sell items in. And it really makes me wonder if these guys are just taking the easy way, and I did so many sales this month in my hometown or my home county, and not taking the time to say, well, I better figure what I did in Hennessy, and I better figure what I did in Wacomas and Dover, and therefore the town of Hennessy would not be getting sales tax. The state and the county would be getting all of that. Like I said, all of our businesses have suffered over the last 2 or 3 years because of economic conditions, because of COVID. A lot of people have a lot of money invested in brick and mortar businesses in our community, and I'm not saying I would want to eliminate food trucks, but I think that we need to help protect the people who live here, who help support the community. Our school is not going to go hit up some food truck for a donation for their softball team, their little league team, but I'm sure you get hit all the time. I do. And
Weekly.
yeah,
Weekly.
So, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I would not mind to see a permit fee. Now, I would like to see something, people who are based out of Hennessy, like the taco truck, for instance,
Well, they have their own building.
have an
But they're still
annual.
out of, I mean, if you do a food truck, it would still be classified as a food truck.
You can still do a yearly permit though. Like you can do yearly permits. A lot of these towns will have like people that are based out of a food truck that really don't move them, they just pay a yearly permit.
Well, and I did some checking.
Yeah.
Kingfisher does it just like us. I called them, they have no permitting.
Yeah.
They go and verify, they don't have any fees. Enid, and I check around here, just, they have $10 for a single event, 6 month of $50, and an annual of $75 is what Enid charges.
It's a $10 daily,
Well, it says single event. So,
so one day to
mhm.
whatever, okay.
That's
So-
not much.
That's not much, you're right.
But, and then they fill out the application in Enid, because Enid had an application. But,
Now, some of these towns, we see that they're a lot more expensive than that because of larger events coming in. And of course, when there's a large event coming in, that's where they usually have, of course, the daily rate, which is the normal rate, and then they have an event rate, which is on top of that. That's something we've been seeing a lot in these smaller towns as well. We saw one where I think it was like $55 for the day. But when you start talking about 4,000 and 5,000 people coming in, you're talking $50. That's pretty quick. You're not gonna, you're talking anywhere from $3,000 and $4,000 in sales. It's not as bad. But like on a normal day, 10, 15 bucks, that's normal, what we've been seeing. But like I said, it's more of a way to kind of protect your brick and mortar stores that are here, just like Bert was saying. But also at the same time, sales tax, we don't know if they're paying sales tax. I've been on some of these boards where a lot of the food trucks will talk, and a lot of them will sit there and say, I'll just do it the county tax. Because of course then they don't have to pay the town tax and the county, they just pay county and then they pocket the rest. We've been seeing that a lot on these food truck boards, where they talk amongst themselves. And I think it's kind of funny, like, hey, well, I can't do that, they can't do that, they can't pick up their store and move it outside the deal. The merchant can't just go over here and move it outside the city limits, but you guys can. It starts turning into one of those things like, okay, well, how many food trucks are we gonna allow in before we see, I don't know, I'll Eat It Up decide to close up because they can't compete, or just move out, or Gale's Grill, or Sparky's, or even Pizza Hut. What is it gonna take to make sure that we're protecting the people that have invested in the community? So,
Bert,
Yes.
we've had this discussion at Hennessy United meetings, because at one time, there was some people who wanted to have the food trucks all around at the festival, the Wine and Chocolate Festival. And we had quite a big discussion about it. They wanted to expand it to have arts and crafts and that kind of stuff, and we're like, no, this is what we want to do. We don't want to hurt, we want to hurt our fire department that's there selling things, and then all the other businesses that are on the street that they could go to eat. So we didn't allow them. I don't know if we have that authority, but we
should be able to have that authority,
I
especially
know,
on
but
events.
it would have to be put into the ordinance, because right
Yeah.
now, there's nothing, so as long as they have property owner permission, they're able to set up.
And especially, and I realize that's a public park where we're having it, but we would not want, because we already have, it set up as to,
We don't let any food trucks sit on unless it's for an event,
oh,
and then it goes through that event.
okay.
So,
Does that make sense?
I'm not sure, but,
Like, we have people that have asked us if they could go put up a barbecue stand at Memorial Park.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
We don't
Right.
allow food
Oh, wait,
trucks
on public property. Okay,
It
gotcha
would be
there.
town,
Okay.
property.
town,
Yeah,
property,
okay.
town property.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless it's an event.
Well, like the wrestling tournament this year, they had one down here at the high school on the south side of the building, and they put one over there by the high school.
Oh, that was for Little League.
for the wrestling tournament. You know, I'm just saying, they had a concession stand down there where you could buy whatever food you want. Question I want to ask, the wine and festival you're talking about, where did it go into the chocolates? Do they have to have a healthcare deal to actually sell chocolate at a?
Well, the thing is that they're considered cottage foods. So cottage foods are anything that's prepared off-site, and they don't have to be heated or cooled or kept in a heated or cooled item. Anything that has to be heated or cooled, being a fundraiser or anything, you actually have to have a health license. And then on the back of that cottage item, it needs to be stated that it was made in a home kitchen, basically. And that's how it's protected under the Oklahoma licensing. Now, like I said, if you heat it, say if you decide to do hot dogs at a concession stand, you theoretically are supposed to have a Oklahoma health license, and it has to be inspected. So if,
That's why the swimming pool only sells prepackaged foods.
and then that's, yeah, exactly, and those are cottage items, those are perfectly fine. But if you decide, like if a baseball team wanted to do a fundraiser out here on the street, and they decided, we've had this issue on one of our cruises, if they wanted to do a fundraiser out here in the street and they wanted to do hot dogs, and they don't have an Oklahoma health license, they are now, they're breaking the law.
Yeah, we are.
So unfortunately, you know, that kind of cuts into a lot of things, but it is the law. You know, but like I said, if it's cottage food items, which are prepackaged and they don't require heating or cooling, they're within the law at that point.
I guess my thoughts, I mean, I pretty much voiced my thoughts on this, but additional thoughts are, how does Hennessy United, as an independent organization, say, no, you can't bring food trucks? Or you all, as the crews, say, no, you can't bring food trucks? I mean, we have no ordinances.
Yeah, we theoretically can't enforce it,
No.
and that's a kind of a problem. You know,
But
because
I'm
we do
wondering,
this
where I'm
too.
going with this, Tony, I'm wondering if we had a permitting process, if we can enforce it then. I mean, are we gonna say, okay, you're gonna spend $25 for your permit, but we're not gonna let you come because we don't want you at this event?
No, they only have to spend the money when they're approved.
Well, I know, but I don't think the town can pick and choose who gets approved. Are you
As
following
long
me?
as they
It's like-
meet all of the guidelines.
Like somebody
Well,
just,
they
Like
can actually
somebody
sit there
wanted to
and-
come on the
That's
cruise.
where the town can put a clause in there saying at certain events, if food trucks are not available, we have that clause in there. That can be put in there saying at special events, that's where I'm saying on a normal day, they spend $10 or $15. At events, it's $25 or $30 if food trucks are permitted. Now, the thing is that the cruise, the reason we do the whole cruise here in the first place was to make sure that we spend money here in Hennessy.
Right.
And we know that it's coming right back to Hennessy at that point. We have to inject it into our local economy. Problem is that with a food truck, say that they're coming from Enid. Now we just injected money into someone in Enid.
Correct, and I totally agree with you. What I'm questioning is the legality because I agree, I think we need to have a permit, and I think there needs to be a cost involved. But we need to check into the legality. I don't think we as a town can discriminate that you can't bring a truck on this day and this day, but we would need to check with our city attorney to make sure. And if there is a way of putting that clause in, because Hennessy United's protected the fire department in the past, because the fire department's been the only food vendor that they've allowed.
And that's just a giant fundraiser for the fire
It
department.
is, yeah, it's a very major one, so.
But if we have
So I
that clause
understand
in there,
where
we
you're
can
coming
actually still, you know, theoretically, if they could go set up an interbank right across the street and take
Right.
half your guys' funding.
Right.
So if we have that clause in there, we can come in and say, no, we have a special event on this specific day, we are not allowing permits for this day. And I think that, like I said, you have to check with the attorney, but I'm pretty sure that
But
That
what if
can be
someone
done.
buys a yearly permit?
that would be in the clause that special events are not included on the permit.
Well, I think if, you know, what Jack talked about a while ago, a goal of having 4 major events
Mhm.
a year, you know, that possibly those could be exempted, but I don't know.
Well,
That would
that's
be a legal
because,
question.
I mean, we're talking, Lions Club is talking about a 4th of July celebration, and we're gonna put a food truck down there to try to keep everybody down at, I mean, it's gonna be a local one, but still a food truck down there to keep people at the park. And, I mean, now there's this, so, I mean,
It may be that, you know, I know when I was doing event coordination, I was never really challenged. I was the event coordinator, I was in charge of setting the rules, and I wasn't really ever challenged with that. You know, what the event coordinator said was it. But it could be that if we're gonna hold a major event, we have a little, you know, we're gonna pay the city $1 to get an agreement that, you know, for this particular event, we are not gonna allow food trucks. And it could be just a simple, something like that. And then we could just say that there are no food trucks allowed at this event.
See, I'm kind of like Bert, you gotta ask the lawyers the true question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get that, yeah.
When I had the racetrack, and we had a big event at the racetrack, which is county-owned land. Since the county has concession stands at the racetrack, we could not allow no vendors on it. But they could go across the street into a public person's driveway. That's what you're gonna kind of get at.
Yeah.
Just because I say no, because they can't come in here for the event, what keeps them going down to somebody's house? Hey, I'll pay you $25, let me sit up here, I got my yearly permit.
Because you'd be, with a permit, theoretically, you're able to do that townwide. It's actually a permittable item. It doesn't matter if you're on private property or not.
But if you don't
Because
allow,
you still have to be health licensed.
if you don't have them, like county property, once they told you no, you couldn't come on county property with that and sell,
Well, yeah.
you know. That's what I'm asking, you know, I think a lot of this would have to be asked by, because I'm all for this, so,
Well, yeah.
you know, I just want it to be done proper, you know. Because this question was brought up by another restaurant here in town when we had the wrestling tournament. Because like I said, it was parked right next to one, and they were busier than they were at the deal, you know. And they just like, well, we should just stay closed, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to, you know, what Jack was talking about with these tournaments and stuff like that. We get, you know, I get a lot of information from Jack. You know, when we have tournaments, we try to make sure that we order up for these. Well, if we have a bunch of food trucks that decide to go sit over at the school, suddenly just pop in there, and we don't know about that. Now I have all this extra food that I, planned for, is not gonna go to waste. So it helps out the local businesses, that way it keeps our prices relatively stable instead of us having to absorb that cost somehow.
This is what I suggest. We table it till we talk to our attorney,
Yeah.
to get the proper language right, and then we proceed from there, you know?
That's a good idea.
And Tony, I'm really glad that you brought this up because as, I had this thought for a lot of years, and whenever I saw one of those food trucks, I was just like, yeah, okay. I mean, because like you said, I bought land, I bought building, I pay my utilities, and I do this, and here they just come in and then take the gravy and run off with the gravy.
$10,000 investment that they pull around behind a truck.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, you want to, yes, so, thank you for bringing that up, I really appreciate it.
When you talk to your attorney, it's like CSB, when they had an anniversary, 50th anniversary, they had a couple of food trucks there in their parking lot as a celebration. So, yeah, I would assume you would have to.
That they provided,
Yes, they
I
provided.
think the food was free.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
Yeah,
Because they had provided it. But
right. Well, I think if a local business does that, then,
that's something to consider when
Right.
you talk to the attorney, but.
yeah, Tiffany, if you can get us an opinion on that from our attorney and report back. Okay,
Thank you, Tony, for
Yeah, thanks for being here, Tony. Discussion with possible action on town trustee handbook. Several months ago, we had a presentation by OMAG, our insurance carrier, who suggested that we adopt a town trustee handbook. This one came from Municipal Consultants. I got it and have attempted to go through and change things to Hennessy and to Town Board of Trustees where it may have said council, because we're not a council. There still needs to be proofread. I really feel like this is important because as people come on the town board, a lot of times they've never served in a public office like this, and I think this gives some guidelines. It quotes a lot of state statute about the open meeting law and the Open Meeting Act, and many things that can come up. And I realize this has been tossed at you guys on fairly short notice. I would like to suggest that we take it. I know I've still got some typos. I didn't write it, I didn't type it, but I did go in and all I changed was some wordage from town council to town trustees, but I know I've missed some of those. But I'd like to see the board members take this and within the next month go over it. And let's table it and bring it back up and see if there's any additions or corrections or anything that we would like to address. Anybody got any questions or suggestions on that?
I really liked it. I read 90% of this, and it really was able to get me to realize where we're really stand at, what we're really all about. And there were some good ideas in here, like on page 31 it says, have a newsletter. I mean, that would be really good, because sometimes we talk about things here to get things done, and we vote on we get done, but then somehow, some way they slip into little cracks, and some of the things that we tried to address did not get taken care of.
A newsletter from me to you guys, or from you guys to the town?
It talks about an employee newsletter, which I think it's under creating a communication system and weekly reports, annual reports, a town newsletter, an employee newsletter. I think maybe a town's newsletter. Correct me if we're not
Getting some sort of
out to the public.
Yeah,
of what-
communication. I know Jack does a really good job on this.
But the other thing is, like, we have people complain to us, and then we come to you, and you done did it 2 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of the stuff like that, it'd be kind of nice to have, to say, well, we had this project going on, we took care of that 2 weeks ago, right? And it's just getting to us, and we're just getting to you,
And then like when we get something done, like we're gonna get this, work on the sewer stuff, that we have different phases of the, of this. So like when we get Barb Street's done, hey, we got Barb Street done, it's not flooding anymore. And then, you'll be looking at yours and,
I'll be doing the wave.
and that we're actually, going down that road instead of just, that there'll be an update on stuff like that, so. And I'm not just talking about that it has to come from the town hall, I'm talking about, we could, like you said, we could all put something into it or something, but I know it'd be added stuff for us, but that would be something that, we could communicate with the community.
Oh, I think one of the most important reasons I see behind having this in place is just so that all of our individual town board members have no power whatsoever. We only have power as the five of us combined. And I'm just gonna use an example. Can you imagine Aaron's frustration if a board member came and said, hey, you guys are stopping too many people, and another board member came and say, you guys aren't stopping enough people, we got speeders, we've got this going on. He would be pulled in 5 directions. And we have worked very hard to focus all of the daily operations into the office of the town administrator, which I think has worked very, very well. And that, you know, state law doesn't allow trustees to have any authority on their own. And I'm not going off on a soapbox here because I don't, you know, on anything at all in particular, but I just think it would be good for all of us to be on the same page, or in this case, pages, as to how we handle things day to day.
A quick suggestion, you know, we've got 7 employees, and the way we communicate is with a shared document. It doesn't have to be something printed and distributed and everything, and although it is digital, you know, as simple as a Google Doc, that every day you fill it in and you can just quickly scroll and look and you can add to it. And we use spreadsheets like all day long. I mean, that's how Angie and I communicate with the hundreds of things that come at us.
It notifies you when someone's added something. It gives you can set it up to notify you via email.
Okay.
I don't know that, I would have to check with the attorney, but I don't know that that is something that the trustees can
I don't
participate in.
think the trustees
I think
can.
that's,
Might not be.
I was gonna say, I think that's classified as a meeting.
Yeah,
Good point. Okay,
yeah, because we cannot meet electronically, digitally, or any.
okay.
For instance,
But that's a handbook.
you know, with that handbook, I couldn't send it to the other 4 board members. I gotta send it to Tiffany and ask her to distribute it.
Okay,
And because I can't have any input with
gotcha.
more than one other board member.
I got a couple of comments on this handbook,
Okay,
if that's all right.
you bet.
I got this from Tiffany, and I thought we were gonna walk in here and vote on this thing tonight. So my approach to it was to try to get through it all over and over, and see what all I could, you know, bring to a positive, constructive suggestion. The first thing that caught my eye is the title page calls it a trustee handbook. Okay? And then I want to turn to page 16. Believe it or not, I've got this stuff marked. Top left corner of page 16, it calls itself a code of ethics. Okay, now my comment on those 2 items is, if this is a handbook to me, I'm gonna treat it as advisory, policy, do it this way if you can. If it's a code of ethics, that means it's, in my mind, it would be codified and everything would be absolutely mandatory, lockstep. Don't mess up, you're going to jail. Yes, ma'am.
If you'll read on the previous page, on 15, where it says Code of Ethics for Elected Officials, it
15?
says the following is a sample code of ethics. So I think that it's referring to this and not the handbook.
Okay, maybe I messed that up then.
I mean, and it could be you just going through it
Yeah,
really fast.
yeah, I was.
And
But
that wasn't my
anyway.
intent, David,
Yeah, yeah.
to make you all have to
Well,
study
that's
and
okay.
come in here and just,
Yeah, I'm not complaining on it. I'm not complaining at all.
But I really think that that's what that is, that
Yeah.
it's referring to right there is that little code of ethics right
Let
there.
me restate it in general form. It's called a handbook on the title page. And then I go through this stuff. I just went through the OML class, and I'm seeing the same stuff, you know. I was just, you know, I was kind of surprised that we were gonna go through the same stuff as the OML stuff.
Mhm.
But if you guys are gonna wanna get this thing locked down and us like sign into it or whatever, I've got a couple of more suggestions.
Okay,
Is that okay?
yeah,
Right.
let me,
Thanks for correcting me.
Oh, I mean, and if I'm wrong, then, I
No,
mean,
no.
but I
And that-
really think that that's,
and that's why I want you to have a little bit of time. And David, let me back up and address what you've got in there about being in the OML laws. There are, let me back up. There, in Oklahoma, many forms of town government, and some of them are governed by state law differently than others.
Right.
So I think what this document tries to do is to take the town trustee form of government
Mhm.
and condense
Yeah, condense it
everything
down.
into.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm still on page 16,
Okay,
if you guys don't mind. I'm gonna compare this. Actually, I'm not gonna, well, I'm gonna compare, my comparison here is, I'm seeing some odd comparisons, is what I'm telling you. If you notice here, it says overview of roles and responsibilities. And it's got mayor, vice mayor, board members. Well, there's a fairly long list of stuff that is the mayor's responsibility. And then there's a 4-item list of things that are the vice mayor's responsibility. And then we get to board members. And for the life of me, I can't figure out what they're trying to say here on board members.
no, responsibility of all board members. Do you see that on the next page?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Oh.
talking about the board members on page 16 at the bottom. So what I'm saying, Tiffany and Bert, is the mayor's stuff's called out here, the vice mayor's stuff's called out. I think that's great. But as a new guy, I'm looking for, the next item, board members. What am I supposed to be doing? And to me, this thing here doesn't say anything.
well, I think what this on page 16 is trying to say is the duties of the mayor. The vice mayor is pretty much the same duties in absence of the mayor. In stating that the vice mayor and the mayor both have voting capability and making motions. And it's not, some forms of government, the mayor doesn't vote, except to
Yeah.
break a tie. And in our form of government, it's not that way. In fact, the town of Hennessy used to practice that in error years and years ago, but that was changed when probably a city attorney or OML said, hey, no, your mayor can make motions and can vote. But I really feel like that maybe what you're looking for comes under what Tiffany pointed out on page 17, responsibilities of all board members, which would be all 5 of the people on the board.
Yeah, I understand that, but it looks to me like wasted ink here on what they put down on
I
this
do
part of
like-
the page.
See, and that's
So
what,
and I'm just asking, so what are you looking for besides this responsibility? Because what they're saying is the mayor has these, the vice mayor has these, and then all board members, including the mayor, vice mayor, and all the board members have these responsibilities.
but the way I'm reading this right now, the only person that can make a move or make motions are the vice mayor.
It says all members of the town trustees,
Where? Not
right
in
there
the
under
list.
board members,
All members of trustees don't say nothing about it, that they can make the motions or,
including those serving as mayor and vice mayor.
Have equal votes.
yeah, vote, we can vote, but it don't say we can make a motion.
Where does it say that they make a motion at?
Right there at vice mayor, the very bottom one says moves or makes motions on agenda items at board meetings.
The very last dot on vice mayor.
Well,
So that'd be the case next month, if he's gone, there ain't nobody here to make a motion.
Yeah, I think that's probably one that needs to be brought up.
Tiffany, I want to make sure you
That probably
understand.
just needs to be brought over, which into board members, because any board member, and, I mean, regardless of, that's state law, any board member can make a motion.
What I'm trying to say, I didn't do a very good job of talking about this. Let me briefly start over. On page 16, you know, yes, I see where it says all members of the town trustees, including those serving as mayor and vice mayor, have equal votes, okay? But that does, but up under the vice mayor and the mayor, there's stuff listed that they actually do. And this thing here is not something that there's nothing there, it doesn't say anything that we actually do. And then the second statement up at the top of page 17, it's the same thing. It's just, you know, no board member has more power than any other board member, and all should be treated with equal respect. That don't say anything to me. I already know about the equal respect from my training class.
Maybe that would be.
There's no period at the end, on the page 16 at the bottom, under board members. There's no period there, so I'm wondering if there was more information that was supposed to be there. You see what I'm talking about?
Well, yes, ma'am, there's a period behind equal votes.
No, forms of government, parentheses, there's no period to indicate that's the end of the sentence. So I'm wondering if there's more.
Well, just, that part I think just says, where it says may vary depending on charter or some forms of government.
Okay.
Well,
You guys keep in mind, I'm not complaining, I'm kind of, I want to be able to rely on this document later.
Sure.
I've got one more. Turn to page 6 and page 20. Now, on page 5, it says the roles of the town trustees are also set by statute, okay? And then it says all powers of the trustees, matters of policy, that should be vested in board of trustees without limitation before the board may. Then on the next page, on page 6, is a list of things that the board has the authority to do. And I want you to pay particular attention to item E. Inquire into the conduct of any office, department, or agency of the town, and investigate municipal affairs, or authorize and provide for such inquiries. The next item, F, create, change, abolish offices, departments, or agencies, other than those established by law. Okay, and it goes on and on. Now, if you'll look at page 20, item B, under the board conduct with town staff. Well, right here, item B tells me that I shouldn't be talking to town staff, that I need to go through staff management with all of my communications. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just that this document contradicts itself there. If I'm going to do an investigation, let's say Aaron had a wreck in his police car, and Tiffany wanted me to take a look at, see what went wrong or what happened, whose fault it was or whatever. I'm going to need to be able to talk to Aaron about that, asking questions. You see where I'm going? I mean, that's just I know that scenario will never happen, but.
David, the items on page 6 refer to what the board can do as a whole and not individual trustees. We cannot individually appoint, remove, confirm appointments, or designate town officers. None of that. When it refers to that, we as a board can enact, raise revenue, establish rates under C, inspect the books and accounts under D, all of the things that goes through, create, change, and abolish offices. All of that has to be done by the town board as a whole. I think maybe you're looking at it as an individual trustee, and an individual trustee does not have the power, and I think that's what it is just repeating or reiterating on page 20.
Well, I don't have any problem with either of these two items. I'm just saying that in my mind, it's a conflict in this document. It is to me anyway. And I'm just asking, I'll do some more reviewing, and you guys are all gonna review it. But like I said earlier, I thought we were gonna vote on this tonight, and I kinda wanted to chew on some of it and tell you guys what I was thinking. And I realize you want a review, you want comments, and I appreciate that. And I'll read it again a few thousand times
Okay.
and try to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. Thanks for listening. Don't wreck your car, Amy.
If he does, we're blaming you.
Be my,
He jinxed it.
I jinxed it here.
Oh, my.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comment on that? Okay, item E is discussion with possible action on the future of the library. Harold?
Yeah. I kind of read the handbook a little bit. Do I got time limit, sir?
We haven't adopted
It
it,
says you 3 minutes to speak.
but when my stomach growls the third time, it's time
All right, since we have the resignation of the library personnel, my deal is it time to do something with the library? Is it time to, to fix it? Is it time to close it down? Is it time to downsize it? We all know the library is kind of a money pit to a certain degree. We spend a lot of money on it. There's certain things that, there's other things that we can do to make our library better. I'm not saying asking to close it down. This is just really an open discussion. Like I said, we have no library personnel right now. It's just time to do something with the library.
I was about to say, I'm here till
Well,
July.
July. That's what I'm saying, it's time, we got a month, a little bit of time to decide what we want to do with it. We're not having any applicants, are we, that's sticking out in your mind? We got a good salary, we spend a lot of money heating and airing that building, but there is also a lot of work that needs to be done with it. You walk on the floor, it gives, we got a liability issue there in some of the places. Is it time now that we go in and fix it? Do we want to waste our money on that building, or do we want to buy another building in town and to downsize it? How much does the library get used? Is it worth spending that kind of money on? And my big deal, I want to bring it to town board, put it out there in the open, let everybody kind of discuss it and see what our options are.
Well, we've got the library in a 22,000 square foot building, which I think is completely way oversized. I think it is good to look at it, Harold, and to see where we're at. What's our annual budget, Tiffany? 140, 150?
Well, we're gonna be proposing. That's the wrong one. Let me put my glasses on. I think it's like around 140. The budget last year was 95,130.
I'm sorry, how much?
95,130.
But that didn't include salaries, that was just the,
Yes, that includes.
oh, it did, okay, wow.
The basement leaks on it, is it still leaking when it rains?
Which one? I'm sorry?
The basement?
That's underneath the stage, and I don't go down there. There's no light down there, I don't go underneath the stage.
I don't wanna hurt nobody, I don't wanna see nobody hurt, but, do we need that big of a building for our library, We do a lot of probably e-books, is that right?
So, my monthly numbers average around, ebooks are anywhere from 150 to 200, but my actual physical checkouts are equal to that for both adult and children's. On average, they're anywhere from 150 to 200 each month for physical, adult, and children's materials, as well as ebooks. So, you're looking around, at most, 600 all across the board each month.
I mean, I went around and looked at some of the other libraries, like Kingfisher's, they got a nice library, but it's a lot done with donations of it. Crescent's got a nice library, but it's small, It's just an open room, about 1,200 square feet. And I thought it was nice, up to code, handicap acceptable, the whole 9 yards. When, to me, it's time for us, we sat and looked at that library for the last 20 years and let, maybe not, I shouldn't say slide, but it's time to do something. It's time to either get in there and fix what we got or move it to a new one.
Well, I know the architect that looked at it told me that it was not feasible to,
Said what, I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
that it was not feasible. AIP architects looked at it and said it was not feasible. Is that what they told you, Richard?
Well, I think we just looked at everything, I didn't get any
You
written
give feedback.
You know,
I haven't got
some-
anything in writing either.
There's a lot of discussion going back and forth.
Tiffany, do you have any input on what your thoughts?
Well, I know, things have been talking about how is the libraries going these days with the digital and different things. And so I'm looking at that old building, and I say old, it's a historical building, but, and then I look at what we had at the swimming pool, okay? Our old swimming pool. People didn't think that we needed to get a new pool. They thought that one was still suit our needs and different things. And people just were not enthused about swimming or enthused about anything. And when this was brought up to me, I thought, well, I was trying to think of I don't know, both sides of the story. I mean, I don't want to get rid of the library, but I also need to see if there's enthusiasm in the community for the library. And I think one way to do that is if you temporarily take something away, it grows the enthusiasm of the people. Therefore, I think it's going to grow the enthusiasm of the people to come up with money to either fix that library, to help us fix that library, or they're going to come up with, help us with money to possibly do a new one if we can't fix that library. I don't know. These are just some of the things that have come into my head.
My deal is you're building a 2,000 square foot house here in the town of Hennessy for $200,000. You put a brand new library somewhere in here, you build a 2,000 square foot house for a building, you could probably get that done in less than $200,000. And you'd have a nice library, and you'd probably have one of the better libraries around, if we buy one of these buildings on Main Street and convert it into a library, would it be cheaper on utilities? Can one person maintain it? It's a little bit of everything.
I think there's a lot of avenues to look at. One of the avenues that I have thought about, and hear me out, sounds maybe a little bizarre at first, but the purchase of the Clipper building to renovate and put a doorway between town hall and that building and use that as a historical building to where down the walls, I think, Barb could tell us, I think it's got the old metal ceiling still, do you know?
The tin,
The
yeah.
tin roof.
tin ceiling.
To make it a historical building with historical items displayed, have tables set up with fast internet service. I just see libraries as becoming, and Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see more of a transition into digital products rather than paper products.
It depends on what type of products you're concerned about, but I will say a lot of modern libraries, while they are not seen as a warehouse for books anymore, they are still a place where individuals can go and utilize technology, they can utilize resources, they can still get aid from a person that they can't get in their own home, or they can't access freely, because that's, I know it seems like a very strange concept in today's age, but it is somewhere where you can, say you've got a hobby that you want to try, or you've got a job that you want to apply for, and you just need a little bit of like training or skill with this specific type of technology, your library can provide that for you with minimal cost. So it makes information and it makes technology accessible to the general public, so that way maybe if they decide, oh, well, I actually do enjoy this, I will purchase my own piece of technology. Or if they only need it like once or twice a year, they can go to the library and they can utilize it. So in terms of books, I wouldn't say it's completely digital. Paper books are still very popular. They're brick and mortar, actually, statistically, brick and mortar bookstores are on a high now. Like, they are coming back. Barnes & Noble was actually going to close a lot of their stores until COVID, and now they're actually building more stores. So paper materials are still a thing, and they are still circulating. But the modern library is more about technology now, and having in-house technology that's accessible to its community.
Now, you say the library is probably gonna come, this is probably the busier time of the year for the
Yes.
library, since school is out.
Yes, programming is another big thing, doing activities for all ages, not just children, but all age activities, whether that's educational, it's just entertainment, it could be crafts, it can, sometimes it's just an opportunity to get kids out of the house and get them socializing with each other in a summer months when it can be very isolating, especially in a digital age. Kids are on the computers, they're on their phones, they're at home, they're stuck at home half the time. It gets them out, gets them socializing. So summer is a very peak activity season for a public library because that's what they're doing. They're providing activities for the community to come and do and participate in.
I'm glad you explained that way, because that's kind of what I'm seeing in my mind, is an area where there would be a staff person, and like I said, my thoughts of having the building next door with an open door wouldn't mean that it's not staffed, but it would be staffed with a person, but the personnel from this building could also flow back and forth and help as needed. And anyway.
I don't know if you know this, but Hennessy has to be another precinct for voting, and the library is the place to do the voting, and that just came up not long ago.
That could be moved, though.
Okay, no. I myself, I really love the library. I think the library is a really good place, but also, and thank you for your time, and really appreciate your hard work and your diligence, and thank you for giving us an extra time, and I hope you do well back home and stuff, but thank you very much. I just want to say thank you. Because, you know, you need a place to go and just be able to relax and read a magazine or you know, read a newspaper or something like that. Just a cool place to go.
According to my teenagers, they like it. I've got a group of 10 to 15 teenagers, they come once a week, and because they feel safe, they feel welcomed, and they feel like they can be themselves in our structure. And that, I mean, that does have a lot to do with staff, but that also just, in general, the vibe of the building. They know they have space to go to after school in the summer, and they feel safe there. We've got younger kids who love to come to our programs. I've got kids and parents that are going to be disappointed if we don't do activities, which I don't think we will do this summer. But we'll have passive programming, we'll do some little offhand things, but there's lots of people in this community that enjoy coming to the library. So as an institution, now I'm not, for the building, that's up to y'all, obviously, I'm leaving, I won't have any say in that. But as an institution, I feel that this community should seriously consider maintaining some type of library.
See, our deal, my deal is kind of like this. My issue really ain't with the library, it's with the building. I can't keep sinking money into a money pit, when I could downsize it or get a different building in. And like Tiffany said a while ago, you might have to start off with shutting it down before we can do something.
Or making it smaller.
Or make it smaller,
I looked it up this morning, we have 26,000 items in that building, not including the History Center. I don't know how much is in that History Center. But in terms of books and movies and materials, we have 26,000 items.
I talked to Crescent when I went over and looked at their place, when they kept moving around, the lady told me they got rid of like 10,000 books when they went from one place to the other. So, so that's where my issue really is. It's not with the library, the actual department with itself, it's the building, I'd hate for somebody to walk through there and fall through the floor, or, deteriorating, and, the way the roof is, if something falls in.
Is that you?
No, I was about to go see what it was.
If the roof falls in, because,
Something might hold it.
how strong is it,
Somebody stole their car.
That's where my issue is, so. I just wanted to bring it in front of the board, maybe we could get the ball rolling on something.
I've got a different slant on it if you guys
Sure.
don't mind. I want to comment on what Tiffany said. It might be a good time, I don't want to say to shut the library down, but with both employees resigning, it might be a good time for what I would call a pause. Pause our activities there. Number one, that would give us more time to hire the right people later if we want to. And number two, it would give the townsfolk the opportunity to miss it and to talk to us about it, to talk to Tiffany and us board members and say, hey, we really miss that library and we really want you guys to keep something going. Now, here's my other slant that's going to be kind of opposite of what I just said. I've thought about it based on what Richard's been talking to us about for months. He wants to do some legacy stuff with that old building. Can I say that, Richard? Okay. So, in order to do that, we need to get that library out of there. And if we want to keep the library, putting it in another building like next door is a great idea, I think. But another way we could do that is a way that other states and counties have done that I've seen in the past. They would consolidate a library at the county seat. In other words, I might propose, I'm not proposing, I might propose that we allow the school system to come in and look at what's in our library, take what they want out of it to add to their library. We've talked in the past about maybe hiring one city employee to work at that library over there to offer extended hours. Does that make sense? Then second, after our school board is done, let the Kingfisher County Library come up here and review what we've got left and let them take the portions that they want to take. Is that making sense to everybody? And then third, to completely eliminate the library, we would end up having a sale, auction, books, book sale, whatever. And that would get rid of the library here in Hennessy. I'm not saying I want to do that, I'm just talking through the option that I see, and I know a way of doing it that I've seen done in the past.
I would hate to see the institution of the library in Hennessy go away. I don't know that it's feasible at this point to combine efforts with the school because of having public on school property and vice versa. I think it would have to be a building that was built, that was designed for that purpose, because obviously for safety reasons, school staff would not want public coming in with children, which is totally understandable in this day and age. I like your point, David, of taking a pause. I would like to see where the public stands. I'm sure they're going to tell us, and, you know, I'm sure some of them are going to be very vocal one way or the other.
Absolutely.
And I would like to know what they want. This is a community of 2,000 people, and I really would like to hear, I'd really like to hear from them.
Again, sorry, could we have like, I don't know if Jack would be able to do this, put up a poll or something, see how people feel about it. I mean, almost everybody's community visits this site almost on a daily basis. So, I mean, you could find out what the people want fairly easy by just putting a poll out.
Right. And I don't, you know, and along those lines though, Aaron, I really don't want to see a poll, do you want the library or do you not? I don't, you know, I think the consensus among us, most of us here on the board, seems to be that we want the institution of the library. We just don't know that we need 22,000 feet to do that in. And so I'd like to see some feedback. And I don't know how that poll could be worked, but if something like that could be worked
I wasn't
out.
proposing anything like, do you want it or do you not want it? Like more of like, okay, these are our options, so how do you guys feel about it?
Well, you'll get opinions.
Yeah, we will.
We might break the internet. Yeah.
Tiffany,
We will.
did you get that number on the 2022 budget? The
That
proposed,
was on the 2021.
and how much was it? 95, 130?
something.
95, 130.
Does that include the insurance for that building?
No,
That comes out of general.
Can you give me a ballpark on the insurance?
it's a little over $5,000.
5,000 annually?
Mhm.
It's not as much as I thought. Thank
Well,
you.
and
Thank
what-
you.
But that's not a replacement cost.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say,
what do
that's
we
the
call
only
it?
building in town that we're insuring at not replacement. So if it burned down or blew away, our
They couldn't
insurance company
bill
would not replace
$22,000.
it up to that amount because we can't afford to insure it at replacement.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
I think it's insured at 1.3 million.
Well, thanks for listening to me again. I'm done with my comments on that. I'm not trying to be destructive, just trying to stimulate thinking, and I know our meeting will be reviewed by a lot of people
It will.
here in town, and
And I want it to be.
yes, sir, absolutely. And I've actually got some comments on it already myself, pro and con.
So what do we want to do with this item? Table it? I mean, Lindsay's here till July. Let me preface, put my disclaimer out there before I go tabling them and stuff. I will not be here at the June meeting. I will be on vacation, so by me tabling all this, I want to tell you up front, I'm not trying to get out of, I'm not trying to get out of anything.
And I thought we were friends.
Well, I honestly think something like this needs to be all 5 of you guys.
Well, we could do a special meeting. I think what I'd like to see our approach be, and Harold, this is your agenda item, so
My approach would be, since we've already lost our employee, and after that, let's hold off until we got to July to do a lot of things. You know, we give us 60 days, and we actually got, you know, we have to shut it down for 90 days after, or, you know, 30 days after she leaves. It gives us time to look at other things, you know, like the Clipper building or,
But we can't have Lindsay down there all by herself either, though.
but when's the other one gone?
She's already gone.
I've been on my own for a week and a half now.
So, something to consider though, I mean, obviously the Clipper building isn't move-in ready. So that would be an extended construction project that would also, you know, complicate this.
But if you can spend $100,000 on a building or $150,000 on a building and have it up to code and you ain't even gonna touch that library with that, you know, I don't even think you can.
Oh, I'm talking about cost, I'm just thinking time,
Yeah.
you know, how much
Yeah.
time it would take.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could, I really think we could function temporarily somewhere until.
School's out, is there a way we can hire a high schooler for the
She's
library?
gotten one application?
2 now,
Oh, 2 now.
and I have a slew of others that picked up applications.
For a high schooler or?
I think the
Temporary.
2 that have submitted are high schoolers, and then the other ones, I've got 3 graduating seniors and 1 19-year-old, and actually at least 1 adult.
So what we looked at, because we have both the director and the children's librarian available, you really don't want to hire that children's librarian until your director comes. Because we've seen it in the past where you hire the children's librarian and then you hire the director, well then the 2 don't get along. So you really need to hire your director first and let them participate in the hiring of your children's librarian.
Do they ever talk? I don't see much librarians talking. They're always-
Oh, you
Haven't been down there. So in the meantime, what I had talked to Lindsay about is hiring like a temporary person for the summer, to get us through that, to help her
You
out.
leaving what time, part of July?
July 15th is my last day. That gives me enough time to move back to Kansas before my new position starts in August.
Well, David?
I got a question, it's for Tiffany. What part, to be honest with you, I just found out that we have a library board. You know, you sent that email out about hiring or not hiring, but appointing somebody to the board. Should we be letting them come in here and making proposals to us on what they want to do with the library? Or is that a dumb question?
To follow up with that question, I'm glad you asked that question, because you also have the Friends of the Library.
Right, yeah, I know about that organization.
Well, you know, to me, I'm confused.
The
Who's managing what?
The library board is designed, or is, the library board is a group of 5 individuals that is appointed by the town board. They serve 3-year terms. So every year we appoint either 1 or 2 for that, because they're 3-year terms. The Friends of the Library is volunteers who volunteer to be Friends of the Library to help out with fundraising and different events at the library.
My library board is primarily advisory. They help with policy. In this case, they'll help with hiring process. If there's issues that come up and I need their thoughts and opinions before I go to Tiffany, I communicate with them, mostly just because they're usually either they've worked at the library before, they've been involved in the library to some capacity, and that's primarily what my library board and I do.
So the library board is sort of an advisory board.
Well, they'll probably want to say something about what we're talking about.
Oh, I most definitely, I mean.
We discuss it every time it comes up. We discuss it. So.
Yeah.
And my FOL officers, and the general meetings, we also discuss these issues when they come up.
What about the museum? Because you can't squeeze a library and what's in the museum in the old Hennessy Clipper office.
I have a question. What about parking? Like when she has a group of kids come over, would they go in the back or how would the parking work?
I don't know. I mean, that's all things that we would have to address.
Because you have parking all right here
Mhm.
and on the other side of the street.
They could walk there, I guess, yeah.
Because they would even, I mean, if
I was
there's a
just
door,
curious.
then they would even be able to come in through the town hall too, if that was the case.
Harold, like I said, this year agenda item, I would recommend, let's give public input, let's bring it back up. I'd be glad to have a special meeting. Like I said, unfortunately, I already got plans to be out of town for the next regular meeting.
Not according to your handbook, sir.
What are your thoughts?
That's, my deal with it was put it on the table, discuss it, you know, and then, you know, it's actually just for open discussion, see what kind of response we get from the public. You know, I might get hung tonight when I go out the door, so.
Just don't.
Oh, goodness.
But you know what I'm saying?
Really?
And that's where I'm at. You know, like I said, you know, every month we go, it's always something about the library. You know, at the meetings, and you talk to people in town, and you know, you guys talk a lot about the library, but you guys don't get nothing done. You know, it's still this building. You know, I haven't been in the library in 45 years. And I guess my senior term papers last time I've been into the library, you know, so, you know, I might have went and dropped my kid off, and I don't think it did him no good, but, you know, so, but I know there's a need for the library, but just in what capacity do we need, what do we need of the library? You know,
Does the town want to have a special meeting to invite people in?
You
know, Hennessy United, you were at that meeting when I brought that up, that we need to have one, no one saluted it.
you know, you might have 10,000, you might have 20,000 books at the library and 10 places over here where they can all get on the computer. Which one's probably gonna be the business? You know, probably the technology center, you know? So, and that's what we gotta kind of address, what we want, you know?
Well, I think it's important to get public
I
feedback.
don't think everybody's got their anecdotal stuff. What I would suggest, put it up for election. Do you want to have a library? Secondly, do you want to preserve the old Hennessy High School? Put it up for vote.
Well, Richard, I feel like that's why the town has put those of us on the board, is to represent them. I mean, we can't put up for vote every time an issue comes up to the public.
Yes, we can. We can put this up for a vote. We did it with the swimming pool.
But my question is, you put
That
the
was
library.
for a sales tax.
If it's for sales tax question that we have to put up by law.
That was the sales tax issue involving Hennessy people paying a little bit more tax.
Right.
So, to me, it's the same issue. Do you want to have a library? Do you want the library in the old school building? Do you want to preserve the old school building? Put it up for public vote.
I think we're probably gonna find out as soon as people read the paper and watch the video and.
Well, I think a gentleman came in and took some things out of the history.
It's already going around that the idea that the library is going to be shutting down,
Yeah, it's
and
a-
I've had at least one gentleman come in and claim a donation that he had.
And we keep talking about library and the building, but it's the library and the museum. There's a museum there. You've got that large space you can use for an expanded museum. You can use it for a theater, and you can use it for a display center. I mentioned it very well, not very well, but just having, for example, quilt displays and things. It's just not the library.
My question to you, Richard, if you put it up to the vote, and it comes back and they say, yes, we want a library, we still can't fix that library to the expense that it needs to be fixed.
Well, my response is this, when have we had this library building since, what, mid-80s?
It was 87. I looked that up too.
83.
Was it 83? Oh, the agreement was signed, some agreement was signed
That meant
87.
that when their free water terminated the school or something.
83?
Yeah, this discussion we're having this evening should have been in, what, 83, 87, 1983.
But that's why I was wanting it tonight, is because we keep prolonging it. You know, we keep telling everybody, you know, it's past administration is where we're at. Now it's time for us to step up to the plate. Let's get something done. Let's make a proud library, you know. Richard, if somebody walked in here tomorrow and said, hey, here's 10 million to build that library, you know, I'm all for the library, you know.
Well, from my viewpoint, that building has been totally ignored
Yes.
since 83.
And yeah, they put new windows in it, and they've done, you know, they put new carpet.
Thousands of dollars worth of heating and air and windows and roof and,
Well, for
so
example,
it hasn't been
you
ignored.
have the Hennessy Tower Monument. That hasn't been maintained.
I agree, that one has not,
And it hasn't.
but we're working on that one.
That's what I'm trying to say, you know, just like what Jack was talking about a while ago when he presented all that to us, and we all voted on it. You know, our biggest part of the town is, we gotta clean ourselves up first before we, you know, our own town property's gotta look good, our main street needs to look good, then we can start forcing, you know, putting the codes out and forcing the codes to clean the yards up, and it just kind of spreads out. And a lot of that will be, you didn't do nothing because you cleaned your own self up. You took a bath, so the next person might want to take a bath, you know? So you just clean yourself up, you know? That's the way I look at it. I can't force this guy to mow my own yard down here when I can't mow this yard over here as a town.
Well, that's a different topic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The building, like you said, has been ignored no matter what. It's time for this administration to step up and let's do something, you know? Whether, you know, like I said, I would love to fix that building, Richard. And if I had $10 million laying around that I could fix it with, that would be great, then to maintain it. But there's no way that we could even maintain it after we did it.
Well, I think we need to move on down our agenda. What's the pleasure of the board? Do we want to wait and see what the public thoughts are?
I would not be opposed to have this on the next agenda to postpone this until the next meeting. Or if we need to have another meeting, then we can do that too.
I would probably pause the hiring. Pause, not stop.
I think you gotta have.
I
one
disagree with you.
individual.
I think Lindsay needs help down there while she's still down there. We need to support her, I mean, still, so.
I think you gotta have one individual there, and as mentioned, that position can be known as, this is
Temporary, that'd be very fine.
I think so too.
But we need to hire somebody.
Yeah, we're going into the summer, you know, some kids looking for something to do.
Okay. Well, let's table this then, and that will not change direction of pursuing someone as an assistant on a temporary basis, right, Tiffany?
Correct.
Correct in that?
Well, the way it's,
Is it possible to get anybody on a temporary basis?
well, that's what she's working, she's got 2 applications so far.
But those 2 applications are probably assuming that this is,
No, It's a temporary position.
We've advertised it as a seasonal temporary. Anyone who's picked up an application understand it's for the summer.
Are those two, maybe this is an inappropriate question at this time, are those two have the expertise to run the library, even though it's just a temporary basis?
So
But if you don't want to answer that question, because it,
the two applicants that I do currently have applications for, I don't know them, I've never met them, so they don't. I've got some that are interested who, they've been volunteering with me for years, as long as I've been here. And the way I view my library assistant, this is my anticipation of how I would have them function, is I would train them how to run the front desk, how to help patrons when they come in, how to answer the phone call, basically keep the library open and functioning, and allow me to get what I need to get done before I leave done. And that if I have to step out of the building, they would be able to help patrons when they come in and to answer the phone, and if something serious comes up, they would be able to say, I'm sorry, the library director is out right now, can you please come back another time? That's kind of how I'm seeing a library assistant right now, is just someone who can do some of the basic things.
with one person, I'm assuming, or I'm guessing, I'm guessing, I can't assume anything. One person could run the basic functions of the library, but any special programs, children's programs, that's not going to be done.
No, I would need someone who would have prior experience, or at least some type of experience with that. And also, summer is starting, and we don't have very much prepared for a full-on program. They could probably do small activities, but for a new hire, I don't think I would want to put that on them, because it's very involved. It's a very involved process to do summer activities. So it would have to be me that would have to do it. So.
Thank you.
Before we go on further on the agenda, I'd like to call for a 5-minute break. We've been here a little over 2 hours. Okay, we will reconvene.
Was that bad?
Discussion with possible action to appoint someone to the library board with term ending May 2025.
The library board did meet and recommend Ginger Cox for that board seat, but it is up to the town board if they have somebody else.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Does that replace?
Paul Caffey.
Oh,
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Ginger Cox.
Cox.
I make a motion,
I think she's been an active member of the Friends of the Library for quite some time.
I think she has. In fact, I think she was president, like, just got off being president. I make a motion to have Ginger Cox to be appointed to the library board, term ending May 2025.
Second.
Roll call?
Cliff,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
Bert.
Yes. Item G is discussion with possible action to set a surplus sale for surplus items. Harold?
The Blazer down there, the old pickup, bucket truck, can we put them up for public auction? Do we,
But if there's only vehicles in like that bed, we could go through like a auction, like an online auction thing, and might be able to get more money out of it.
What we've run into in the past, Harold, is if we don't have a lot of items, auctioneers are reluctant to come put their time in for a few items, but, so it might be worthwhile to try it online first.
I just know like.
We have had some live auctions, but we've had a
Trustees.
lot of,
And I know in some of those auctions, like a vehicle would go for like $100. I mean, it's,
the live auctions.
yeah.
Yeah. We saw the police car down there last time for $250 or $300, and the guy drove it down the road with the siren on. It's like, well, wasn't real good. True story though.
That's all, we'd had them set down there, they're gonna get run worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would need to declare them surplus though.
I think all of them have been declared surplus. Except for the pickup truck. I know the pickup truck has not. The,
We can't do that under this
No.
agenda item. You wanna try putting the other sales on online? The nice thing too about an online auction, you don't have to do it all at once, you could add this one later. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Anybody got any
Sounds
other
good.
discussion with that?
It works.
Okay, item H, discussion with possible action to develop meeting protocols. Harold?
I'd like to put it out there, where no item shall be conceptually placed on monthly board agendas unless the item concerns an ongoing project which requires this discussion by the trustees.
Okay. Do you want to,
Like a resolution. That would,
do you want to make that in a motion, or do you want to, that's out of the handbook, correct?
yeah. You want to make it into a motion?
well, I think it would have to be, you guys would have to make a motion to create an ordinance. Because I really think that if it's just a single, then it would go in the,
If we approve the handbook, it would be adopted into it, correct?
I think so, yeah. So if you want to create an ordinance, I mean, you want to, I mean, that's how you would have to do it is to.
By ordinance,
Mhm.
and we have to get the town attorney draw up the
The attorney's gonna be good, it sounds like.
ordinance. Yeah. Do you want to do that, or just?
I would prefer you guys vote on it before I spend money with the town attorney if it's not going to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
I really couldn't understand what he was saying. Could you read that again?
Yeah, making a motion to, where you can't conceptually put items on the list.
on the agenda.
On the agenda every month,
Okay.
unless it's open for discussion for the board.
Go ahead and speak.
I guess I'm still not getting.
So like if I,
Repetitive items on the agenda.
yeah, because repetitive items should be just like a consent agenda or something like that where it just goes, there's like
Oh, so you don't want the same thing on the agenda?
like an
every month.
agenda item, yes.
So a trustee cannot do that, is that what you're saying?
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Barbara, I think I'm with you, I don't quite understand this.
Well,
A trustee could put any item on the agenda board, on an agenda. Isn't that state law?
Not consistent.
Well, I think it can be restricted to where things can't be repetitively put on over and over.
You think?
I think, I don't know. I don't know.
I would want a legal opinion from the town lawyer.
Well, I know, and he would, I mean, if they approve this thing, he would say, you can't do that before he,
That's what you said, okay.
yeah. Like, it would not take effect until an ordinance was drawn up, you see what I'm saying? And approved by the board. And then an ordinance has to be approved by, well, simple majority unless you do emergency clause, then it would be.
It's in the handbook on page 8, item number 5.
So what do we gotta do? We gotta make a motion to have the attorney look at it?
To draw up an ordinance or whatever, yeah.
But if we pass the handbook, then it would be passed within that. So either way you want to go. It's your item.
Let's table this until the handbook gets decided. How's that?
We can do that.
We can do that.
So you don't want this back on the agenda till after the handbook?
Yes.
So, Can I make a suggestion here? Because this is some of the stuff that we're talking about with this motion, is don't table it. Because if we table it, then you have to bring it back up. If you take no action, then you can bring it back on the agenda. Do you see what I'm saying?
So we want-
When you want it,
Do we
which
want to
would
make
be
a
after.
motion? Do we have to have a motion to take no action? So we just say no action taken?
No action taken.
Yeah, and then once you get the handbook, then you can see what you want to do.
All right,
Okay,
Is that,
understandable.
no action taken.
Okay, item I is discussion with possible action on 24-hour dispatch. Harold,
All right, still on my time limit?
you're still good.
All right, we got the 911 call center that all the people pay taxes to here to answer our phone. We've preached our kids for over 30 years to call the 911 center. But we also have full-time dispatchers. So why do we, I know we got to pay our taxes on one, so why do we have full-time dispatchers? And we also pay for county dispatchers to answer our phone also. There's four, if I'm not mistaken, there's 4 full-time dispatchers and 1 part-time. Approximately $120,000 we spend on dispatchers a year to answer our phones. Most kids, or most people, they call 911 when there's an emergency, so it goes there now, and then they gotta relay it back to the county, Hennessy, and the police station for them to put out there where to go. So why do we have that? You know, my suggestion would be, you know, I like to see us go with the 911, or it's free of charge. They don't charge us nothing for it. I mean, hire one dispatcher for the day to help do the paperwork for the officers, and then
And what do you think about that?
Well, this doesn't just involve me, it also involves the fire department too, so, I mean,
and the ambulance service.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, I don't know. Bert, I mean, what's your opinion?
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb. When 911 takes a call, it is not always passed on effectively. I have some great concern there on several standpoints. One of them that I've mentioned is officer safety, but I feel like when the officers are out, they need somebody on the other end of that radio that's gonna be able to reach them. I don't know if our radios, or if we could, I suppose we could get radios of ours with them that would communicate to Kingfisher. I feel like local dispatch is more in tune with our community as far as where things are located. And because I'll be honest with you, when we get a fire call, for some of the rural addresses, I'm lost. But if the dispatcher says it's so many miles from so-and-so and so many miles north, you know, all of us are a little bit more on it. I know that Life EMS, the owner of Life EMS, has expressed some concerns to me about some things with 911 out of Kingfisher County. So there again, I think this is something we need to take a long, hard look at. I know from a fire department standpoint, I would want to look at how it may affect our ISO ratings, so that I know having 10% of our rating is based on communication, which is dispatch. So I know that we could be affected there as well. So I understand what you're saying, Harold. I think you're saying we're really paying twice for the same service, basically.
Yeah. I know that we brought up the officer safety, but the biggest part I hear about officer safety is we have one patrolman that lives in city limits. You know, it's 25, 30 minutes before a second can get there.
Well, that's not necessarily true because we have reserves and I know when they can call out those reserves at any time.
But still take, in the middle of the night, it's still gonna take them 20 minutes to get dressed and get out there where they're at. You know, I'm just saying, you know, we're throwing the safety issue out there, but let's throw that safety issue out there also, you know? We need more than one officer that lives in city limits, you know?
I think the issue we find with that is you can ask any police department right now, it's so hard to find people that want to be a police officer. So, I mean, if we do that, we're going to have, honestly, probably no applicants. We have a position open right now, and don't know that I've had anybody that lives in Hennessy, honestly. Another thing is our jail. If we did that, we'd have to completely do away with our jail. Because in order to have a jail, you have to have somebody there 24/7.
How
So-
much are we using in jail there?
We're actually using it right now.
I'm sorry?
We're using it right now.
Oh.
Not very often. Honestly, not very often. Before today, I'd have to go look. I couldn't tell you the last time. Shelley probably knows. I mean, was it not last month, the month before?
Ain't done in the last 6 months.
No, we had 2 last month, I
Do
believe.
we?
But probably in the last 6 months, we've had maybe 4.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, it's not very much. I'll be honest with you. It's not. That's a whole nother discussion. But
Right.
Tiffany, can we get that added to the monthly,
What?
the jail attendees?
Yeah, how many?
yeah,
I'd really like to see those numbers over time, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, because it's not going to reflect on what I printed off for you guys. We have people in jail. Most of the time it's on warrants, our town warrants. So if we have somebody there, it's going to be for that. A lot of the time when we do that, they serve their 10 days or see the judge and they're done. How often do we ever see those people again? I mean, really, we're paying for them to be there for 10 days and not getting any money from them. I mean, it's really honest. All honesty, that's what happens.
So we need to get rid of the jail anyway, is that what you're saying?
Another time.
We're paying county, if we take them to county for 10 days, we're paying how much per day?
$60?
But you can book them in county for longer than 10 days. So like if they know that they're going to county, they know that there's no end except for to pay out like $25 a day or whatever for.
No, I mean, what's it costing us?
$60.
It's cost us $60 a night, or day or night, or
$60.
per day that they're there.
Almost make a deal with the sleep in for that.
I know.
But doesn't it, when you arrest somebody and you don't have a jail, it takes that officer offline while he has to drive to county?
It does. I mean, honestly, I mean, most of the things we do is just a citation. I mean, for a complaint form, they fill out a complaint form, they come to court and they discuss it with the judge and all that stuff anyway. Our actual warrant, our actual arrest, if we make an actual arrest, most of the time it's going to be something that goes to county anyway, that we're going to run through the state. I don't remember the last time we put driving under suspension maybe in our jail, but 99% of the time it's for warrants, for our municipal warrants.
So you go under county anyway?
If it's a district charge, yes.
Which then we don't pay
Oh,
because it's a district charge.
Yeah.
okay.
So basically, the only time we would be taking them, unless we charge like driving under suspension or something like that, district, we'd be paying for that, but mostly it'd just be warrants. So on our warrants, that's what they would be paying $60 a month for. I think that's a rough estimate.
So can we use Garfield County dispatcher?
How would our officers communicate with county?
Are we ready yet?
So,
We're,
I don't even, are they still analog, do you know, Tiffany? Or do you know if they're still analog down there?
Yes.
The radio?
Yes.
They are?
A county?
Yeah.
I
They may have just
I
changed.
I thought they were upgrading or just did upgrade to
If
digital.
they're, if
When
they're
they went
digital,
to the-
they're digital, we can communicate with them. As far as I
The
know,
new building.
I'm not a radio expert by any means, but, from what I've been told, I don't think you can communicate digital and analog with each other. As far, at least, it hasn't worked for me. I can hear Kingfisher County, I can't speak to them.
Yeah, you could, digital can talk to analog, and analog can't talk to digital.
What I'm really kind of concerned about too is on our police report for this month, we had 93 calls for service. And granted, some of those would have been 911 calls like medical emergencies, but, and fires, but what about,
But how do we know that,
how about like your animal complaints? We had 20 animal complaints. Those wouldn't be 911 calls, would they? I mean, would 911, if somebody called 911 and said, there's a strange dog in my backyard, are they gonna dispatch you all out for that or not?
No, I,
So what would happen is if this happened, then the non-emergency line would go to them also. And they would
our
dispatch.
non-emergency line?
Mhm.
Okay.
It would get rolled over to,
Okay, and then are they gonna charge us for that,
no.
for dispatching?
I mean, we have to talk to Ray, and Harold had me check this out. But I talked to Dennis, and he said that they do not charge any of the other places, any of the other towns at this time.
Okay,
The
'cause at
county
one time they
commissioners,
did.
the county commissioners made a vote to not charge the towns to dispatch.
What towns are using the Kingfisher?
Okarchi, Kingfisher is after, they only have dispatch 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then after hours it goes to county. And then, Dover Fire uses them, they told me, and I think maybe Loyal and Omega.
They do.
I know Crescent uses Logan County.
That's Logan County,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cashin uses Logan County too.
Yeah, Cash.
So how does 911 work now? If I call 911, I'll get county, and they'll call Hennessy's dispatch, and then Hennessy
So,
will
yeah,
dispatch.
that's how, I mean, that's how it works. It pings off towers, wherever you're at, it's gonna ping like that, and it's gonna send it to wherever 911 center you're closest to, or wherever.
Right,
where you're
but it's
at.
still, if Kingfisher took up the call, they would have to call Hennessy's dispatch.
Yeah.
And then-
Now they do,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Unless it's an EMS call. And then it transfers directly to live EMS dispatching unit. And we have had issues. Our protocol with the fire department is that we respond on any accident with entry. If the ambulance responds, fire's supposed to respond also. Any unresponsive person, so if somebody's down, the ambulance technicians likely are gonna need help either with lifting, performing CPR, whatever the case may be. And so our protocol now is that 911 is to call Hennessy Fire on any of those calls. We are not getting called on many of those calls. Recently, we had an 8-minute delay on a traffic accident where EMS was dispatched. County 911 did not dispatch Hennessy Fire for 8 minutes. And granted, the ambulance gets there, but if somebody's trapped in a vehicle, they're not gonna be able to get to them and render aid until the fire department gets them extricated. So things like that concern me, and I voiced those concerns in the past.
but like on a deal like that,
Have not had any remediation.
like that deal like what you just saying though, if they dial 911, you're still gonna have that delay. They screwed up, it wasn't because, they don't know the number 405-853-4444.
Well, I'm not following you.
Well, once you call 911, then they send back to you to send
Right.
out, right?
Correct.
So, actually, it delays it even farther when they actually call 911
Yeah.
before, instead of just calling the police department right off.
It does, but why would they delay calling fire for 8 minutes?
That's a question that we'd have to ask them why.
I think we would have to have a really,
I have asked that
Conversation.
question and I cannot get it resolved.
They won't answer it, they won't.
Well, I
Answer your
can't,
question.
no, they tell me they'll fix the problem, but the problem doesn't get fixed.
Is it because of the problem that they take care of Kingfisher, you know?
I don't know, Harold, I don't know.
Well, I know the 911 is under the county commissioners.
Correct.
So I know that if there's any problems that need to be addressed with the 911, I think we could always go to the county commissioners.
Can I ask a question about, like, for instance, warrants in the evenings? If our officers have someone pulled over and there's a local warrant, county has no access to know if there's local warrants, am I correct?
A hard copy, no.
But they would have to,
We would have to also send them our hard copies,
yeah.
because that's how you confirm warrants, you gotta pull the hard copy, because computers can be wrong. So anytime, just, if you guys don't know how that process works, so Garfield County just called us, said, hey, this person shows that he has a warrant through you guys. We go to our file cabinet, we pull that warrant, yes, it still is valid, and we call them back and tell them, we fax it to them, fax the information to them, then we go pick them up. So that's what you're asking, right? In order to do that, we would have to send our hard copies to them also. The dispatch, I mean, my question on all this would be, I mean, would we, they may, that's 93 calls for service, that's not how many calls we get in a month. I mean, so, I don't even know how many calls we get, but.
No, because they want to know the number to the post office.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of calls, but with us being there, I guess we just have to talk to the commissioners and everybody about this, because would they have to hire another dispatcher that we would have to pay for also? That would be my question, because they already have all the call volume from Kingfisher County, Kingfisher PD, Okarche, all these other places. Would we have to help provide another dispatcher? Because I mean,
It's busy.
that's quite a bit more calls.
That's why I asked Tiffany if we'd have to pay, because at one time, I think the city of Kingfisher was paying them $80,000 or $85,000 a year for doing
That was before the
city dispatch.
911.
I think the part of the 911 system now, if they're in,
That was during 911.
if a lot of it's updated. I was in a class a couple weeks ago, and a lot of it's state funded if you just apply for it. So that might be why it's free now. I don't know, but
They may be getting some money.
it might be partially funded or fully funded or something like that. I think what our issue is with other municipalities and departments in our county, they're all fairly close to each other. We're right there on that edge of Kingfisher County, almost to Garfield County. So, I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, it happens pretty frequently that Kingfisher County will call us and ask us to go on a call for them, you know, so, because we're over here secluded by ourselves. Would that increase? You know, it's one of those questions I have.
Well, this is what this is supposed to be for, is discussion, you know, if we wanted to move it another way. Anybody else got anything? Dave?
Well, I was listening to what Aaron just said. Many years ago, I was a dispatcher. A lot of people don't know that about me. I worked up there for about 6 months. And I'm sure things have changed since then. It's been a long time. I worked a graveyard shift. We didn't get a lot of business. But I did deal with Kingfisher County some. Talking about the radios being digital versus analog, that's a problem. But you got to think that the Kingfisher County deputies, they operate throughout the county. And so what I'm saying is, you guys could help them and they could help you. I think that's already going on. I think you just said that to a certain level. I will say this. Back when I was working the dispatch counter, there was, I want to use the word animosity. There was a little bit of friction between the Hennessy Police Department and the Kingfisher County Sheriff's Office. There wasn't a lot of, niceties going back and forth. And that caused some non-support issues. You know, you guys will have to take care of that, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I'm wondering, you know, I haven't heard anything about that. Still existing to this day. That's one of the reasons I applied for a ride-along program, is I wanted to try to listen to the radio and see how the Kingfisher County folks are doing on the radio. And, but when it comes to covering the county with radio traffic, us being on the Garfield County line, Aaron, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm thinking that our area has to be covered anyway. And if you guys don't have enough people on duty, I expect the county to come down here and help. And if they won't do that, I want to know about it. Not just because I'm on the board, but because I'm a Kingfisher County citizen. And I'll go down there and talk to the sheriff about it if they're not supporting you guys. I'll talk to him as a private citizen, not as a trustee. I'll do it on a personal basis. But what Harold is proposing here, we haven't even got to Tiffany yet briefing the budget. We got to find some money somewhere. It's just a cold hard fact. And I just think we need to at least look at what you said. We got 4 dispatchers or 5?
4 full-time and 1
part-timer for backfill on like vacations and stuff. I got you. Yeah.
I mean, on the dispatch side of it, I mean, all 3 of these ladies over here have all dispatched.
Yeah.
So they could speak to the dispatch. I mean, how that works better than me, I've never dispatched here. I'll be
Right.
completely honest with you.
I'm sure the workload's different now than it was when I did. And that's why I value your reports each month.
Yeah, I can look and see the amount of calls we get per month. I could really call right now, I could probably tell you in about 30 seconds. But it's gonna be over double that.
Yeah.
And that's not including traffic stops that we don't, you see how many traffic stops are there? If you include that just alone on radio traffic, that's
Yes,
142.
That's a
something
lot.
like
That's a lot. Yeah, I agree.
Some days at dispatch, as dead as a doornail, and some days it's like, holy crap.
Feast or famine.
I mean, and you don't know from one day to the next, but speaking as an officer's wife, I kind of like, my motto is that officer is only good as his dispatcher, and I want my officer to come home.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm not saying nothing about 911 dispatchers, because that would be my daughter. But I'm just saying, as my husband working here, I like knowing that there's someone here who has his back immediately and his back. Not necessarily, wait a minute, I got Okarchi here, I got fire and rescue here, I got here, just a minute, I got to get them out. Because, and I'm not saying nothing negative about 911 dispatch, they do a good job. But I like knowing my husband's taken care of for when he's working.
Sure.
And I mean, I'm not saying anything like bad, but you just have to know. You want to know our guys or women are being taken care of. And how do you know that this call comes in and they're not busy with Dover, Okarchi, Kingfisher? I mean, how do you not know? There's only 2 of them working at a time.
Yeah.
How
You're
can
talking
they?
about 2 officers working at a time here?
They usually have 2 dispatchers in 911.
2 dispatch.
Yes, most of the time. There is one, I think there's like one day they do overlap, they might have more than 2, but normally they only,
You're talking about 2 dispatchers in the 911 center in Kingfisher.
yes, my understanding.
And
they're-
sometimes our local dispatchers are telling their deputies where to go here in town.
So, I mean, there's something to take into consideration. To me, the safety of our officers is very important. The safety of our firemen and the safety of our community.
Yeah. Well, I don't want anybody to think that their safety is not my concern either.
Well, from a fire department standpoint, I feel like we all feel more comfortable knowing that we've got dispatch just a microphone away. Things can go wrong. We've seen it out northwest Oklahoma. Unfortunately, this spring with some firefighter deaths, things can go wrong. And I feel confident that if we need help, we can get it, you know, and we can get it as quickly as possible. And I would not have that level of confidence if I was having a radio to Kingfisher. Number one, just knowing that my radio, depending on weather conditions, et cetera, is gonna reach them.
And no matter how fast your dispatch is, if the call comes in, you needed that person there 3 minutes before the call did.
Exactly.
So,
But back to that, because I don't want to seem like there's any animosity. We go on calls because they ask us to.
They call us, say, hey, Ike's Acres, Miller Heights, which is not in our jurisdiction. There's something out, there's an alarm caller. You guys mind going out there and do it? Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, hey, Aaron, let me tell you, I was in there, I was going to college, and Bobby Mills offered me a part-time job on graveyard shift. And that was 26 years ago. So I'm sure the environment has changed. Probably for the good. From what I see, it's for the good. I will say this, I don't see a lot of Kingfisher County deputies in town very much.
I like
Oh, I
that
do.
because we take care of our business, right?
You know,
I mean, I do
I know we
eat
got
at our
one.
restaurants and.
I know we got one guy that lives here, and he drives through town just about every night. But,
There's
you know,
several that are around.
No, we communicate fairly well,
yeah.
and
Well, and I know that's one of your jobs too, is to communicate and make friendships and bonds with other agencies.
it is unfortunate, because we can't speak to each other on the radio, which is, sometimes we're on a call with them, it's really inconvenient. I've been in pursuit with Kingfisher County going down a dirt road before, and I can't speak to their dispatch, you know,
Yeah.
to tell them.
Because they're on Motorola radio.
Yeah, yeah, it's Motorola. I mean, where mine
Motorola's
is.
got a proprietary chip that
Okay,
will
yeah.
allow the rest of us to talk to.
That's what it is then. But yeah, it's really hard to help each other out sometimes when you can't speak.
Yeah.
So either, if we did that, we would have to change, or they would have to change. I'm sure the rest of the
They're gonna change it.
the rest of the municipalities in the county.
We have the same thing with fire. Aaron and fire department, fire chiefs met, and Kingfisher Fire, as far as I know, is the only one that's going Motorola. Everybody else is Kenwood Digital or generic digital that we can talk. We can talk to Dover, to Lowell, anybody we need to, except Kingfisher. Kingfisher 911.
So how does Dover talk to the 911 center then?
You know, I'm not real sure, Tiffany. I don't know. Maybe they've got an analog radio for that purpose. I don't know. I could
Or
find
the ones
out.
in their vehicles, maybe.
Mhm.
Grand Hills could be, well, that would make sense.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I know Dover and Kingfisher Fire are still analog. They're still on the old frequency.
Okay, and that may be why. They may be monitoring that analog too.
So if that was to take place, we've had our radios 2 or 3 years, I think, digital radios, and so, we would have to go back. I don't know how much that costs and all that stuff. We'd have to either go back, or they would have to, because all of the police departments speak to them, so they must all be analog too.
Okay, anything else on that?
I'm good.
Item J, discussion with possible action to approve amended contract with Howdy Truck Stop to install water sewer infrastructure for future tax rebate agreement.
So we signed it last month, but then he called me and he said, can we add the streets? Because at first they were just gonna do the water and the sewer, and then he said, can we add the streets? And I said, well, I think our agreement includes the streets. Well, when I started looking at the agreement, it didn't even include the sewer. I thought I read sewer in there, but it was only water. So actually we needed to amend it anyway. So now it includes the water, sewer, and the streets.
So this infrastructure, and I apologize, I wasn't here last month, is being put in by them, correct?
Correct. With our engineered reports.
Is our engineers overseeing the project?
You don't have.
I've sent them to our water superintendent, our sewer superintendent, and David as our inspector.
My question is that the water and sewer is supposed to, it's 508,422.
That was the estimate the engineer gave us for the water, sewer, and streets.
All right. They already started up there on that water and the sewer. You know, has that been inspected?
David went up there.
Because I know that weekend that the rodeo was going up there, Scotty was over there filling up the water line with the backhoe. And I talked to David a little bit later on that day, and David said he hadn't inspected nothing.
He just went this week.
And so we got 200 feet or more water line ran that's not inspected.
I didn't know that it was going in. Because actually, they did not have the DEQ approved plans until this week.
So they jumped the gun.
But my question is though, if we're doing it in-house, would you expect that bill to be 508,000?
It's not gonna be 508,000. It's gonna be,
Or a made-up invoice?
they're gonna have to provide us with the invoices for all the piping and everything on that. He said it's probably, with the street, the water and the sewer is gonna be around 300.
But how do we know it's not made-up invoice?
I couldn't tell you, I mean,
How do we get that line that's inspected that they got buried?
we can make them uncovered if you want to.
I mean, I'm just asking, what's the,
We know that, I mean, an actual certified plumber is the one who tied it into our main line. David did talk to him.
I mean, you drive up there now, where they buried that line going across their street, it's already caving in the street.
And that, I mean, that's not on the agenda for the street for that, but
Yeah, I'm just saying though.
it has been addressed with them because there's no curbing and stuff like that.
Well, my deal is.
The streets might not be adopted by the town.
Yeah, but we still have, if that sewer or water breaks underneath that street, we're the ones going to have to fix it down the road. Right?
Not if it's not our water line. If we don't accept it. Correct? Am I wrong with that?
Well, that's what this agreement does. Which you guys already have agreement for the water line. This is just adding the sewer and
That's where I guess I was, maybe not misled, I shouldn't say that word. I was in, I guess, assumption that, I shouldn't say this, probably the wrong thing to say, a legit company up there doing the work, and our code enforcer would be there to make sure that it's properly installed. Because me and Cliff asked last month about the water line getting installed, and everybody said no.
I went by there and I kept seeing pipe on the ground. It was not going in the ground, so I wasn't too worried about it.
But I seen the backhoe there digging. Yeah,
See,
that's
I
why I
never
asked
saw the
him.
backhoe.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
did you not see it?
I saw the backhoe, yeah.
But they've been also doing a lot of work over there for other things, and so I thought maybe that it was the other work.
Who tied on to the sewer?
Nobody has done the sewer yet.
No, across the street
What do you mean it's across the street?
from Dollar General store all the way up past their street that they put in that blacktop street.
The sewer line is?
Yes, ma'am. There's two sets of pipes going from the Dollar General store to the north. One up there, what, that they tied on
So
to?
one of them had to come across the property to the west,
Right.
and then is gonna go down and, the sewer line, and the sewer line is actually coming from back behind where the dollar store is.
It goes,
Well, actually, no, it's not. It's it's north of the dollar store, because that's where our main line is.
I'm just asking, there's two, sets of lines up there. One's bigger than the other. You know, one should be sewer, and the other one's water. You know, they're covered up past that street. And they're open right now, you can see, you can drive down that street.
I thought they input those, I mean, and here, now that you're talking about this, I'm going,
Because,
because they talked about putting piping in before they finished that street.
Preston Smith was there, and he's the one that was putting the sewer line in, so.
Did he cut up that street to put in the sewer line?
Before they put the street in.
Yeah. Because they wanted to get it on the other side of that street.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Was that all that done in code and inspected?
I just saw them out there digging and putting pipe in.
I don't know.
My big deal is I don't wanna get a bill that's 300-some thousand and, or whatever, and then we've done most of the work ourselves. And it's not passed by a code. And
Well, I know he has inspected all the piping.
he told me that for every joint you gotta lay, that you gotta throw 3 chlorine tablets in there to be, and he's gotta witness that. That's David.
I didn't know, he didn't tell me he had to witness it.
Is it DEQ, it's DEQ inspected, is it not? Or DEQ,
No, they, DEQ approved the plans. But I know he doesn't have to be there every time they put a piece together and they put it in the chlorine tubs. He doesn't have to be there.
How do we know to pass the chlorine test?
Huh?
How do we know that,
Well, when they actually hook it up and they start it, then we will do back T samples before we even let it. Before we let anything. Because I know Alyssa and them, they use actually liquid chlorine when they do theirs.
Yeah, it looked like they had dug all the way to the highway, ready to get more underneath the highway.
I know they can't bore under the highway yet, because they gotta get ODOT's approval on
That's where they're sitting at.
that. But what's all that pipe on top of the ground then?
that's the water line to go to that way?
So they're going from the store, I guess I'm confused.
But right there where the dollar store is, the new one, go back that way, there's a fire hydrant that they installed. And they dug all the way to probably about 100 yards that way from the street that they put in, and they headed back west. They dug that ditch out right there going that way, and they got the pipe on the ground right there before it go in that hole.
But I didn't know they buried any of it except underneath the road.
I was told the reason they buried it was because we was supposed to be expecting all that rain, and he didn't want it to float away. I talked to Scotty, he was on the back of it. I just wanted it, you know, it's been inspected.
I know David's went out there because he went out there and he was checking on the pipe.
And we know for like the Osborne edition that we get this crazy amount of bid and we go buy the material ourselves and it's $40,000. Well, the only thing they don't gotta do is they're not done is boring underneath the road. That'd save them a lot of money.
But the thing is we're only reimbursing for what they're spending. They're paying Preston, so there's gonna be a bill there. I mean, but that's up to you guys. I mean, I don't,
To what?
Our agenda items to.
Just the contract,
It's just
the
not
agreement.
But that 508,000 that's what that's in there for. That's
It
what-
says not to exceed that,
Right.
because the attorney wanted something in here, and the only number that we had at the time was from the engineer's estimate.
Well, then we either need a motion to approve or not.
Well, we approved the other one without the roadway and the sewer.
Right. So this contract only involves the road and the sewage.
No, it's an amended contract to the one
For
we
all of
already, yes. Like, you have a red line copy in
Right.
there, and it shows you what they changed, or what our attorney changed.
I make a motion to accept the new Howdy Travel Plaza Economic Development Agreement.
Second. Roll call?
Cliff,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Harold,
No.
Richard.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion with possible action to approve the motor contract for grant administration for CDBG number 18523-21 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
This is just an agreement with us and NODA, because they are the grant administrator for the grant.
I make a motion we approve NODA contract for grant administration for community development block grant 18523-21.
Second.
Roll call?
Bert,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
I don't know if you need to put authorizing the sign or not, also.
Huh?
Because it also says authorize the mayor to sign.
Yeah. I need to amend that, Tiffany, authorize the mayor to
If you're
sign.
putting it on your motion, you do.
Okay, I'll amend the motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Roll call?
Bert,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Cliff.
Yes. Sorry.
No, that's what you caught that.
You have to do a motion and then amend it. So just do this one over.
Okay. Item L is discussion with possible action on pavilion. Richard?
But since you were gone last time, I'll briefly review what I said. We had a discussion where we would do the legacy giving program and searching for a grant. That would not be within the town council, but that I would take, that for me to take the lead on doing that, which I'm glad to do. But you had an excellent fire truck proposal and to give to the county. I need something like that to have, to go to submit to these various donors. I don't want to be in a position, I go into some office asking for financial assistance and then come back to the town council and say, no, that's not what we wanted, that's your doing, you did that all by yourself. And we're not going to do that. So we're all on the same page. If you take I want to make a motion, this is the motion I want to make. And that's out over there to Barbara. I can do that. This is the motion I want to make. I copied this from Guthrie. They have a mission, not a mission statement, vision statement. It's one sentence long, so I just took it and rewrote it a little bit. To be a vibrant, thriving community town which enhances the quality of life for each citizen, encourages and attracts business development, boosts tourism, and encourages the preservation and improvement of Main Street. The Hennessy Town Council declares its full support of the proposed Hennessy Pavilion.
Are you wanting,
Hold on, was that a motion?
No, I'll let you.
Okay.
okay,
You said a motion, so I had to ask.
Yeah, I see where it could, I was
Okay.
confused.
are you wanting to get a drawing together, or what?
Well,
What are you asking? I'm a little confused.
I'm asking, I did the mock-up.
Uh-huh.
It's back there now.
Yeah.
Back there, yeah. I went to my architect, I'll review what I said in the last month's town council meeting. I went to my architect and told him the town wanted to do a pavilion. And I told him what it would entail. And at that point, he said, Richard, what you really need is a mock-up model. So I went to Hobby Lobby and bought their architectural stuff.
Cut it out, of course.
No, he asked for one.
This meeting's getting pretty long, isn't it? And I made a mock-up of it. And I think that would suffice. I asked my architect, how much would you charge to do a architectural schematic? And I think his figure was $7,000. And I don't think the town council's got $7,000 right now. So I'm not asking for that. What I would do is just take pictures of that proposed model and go out with it. I cannot walk into an office and say, we want to do a pavilion. Well, tell me about it, Bob. You know, I have to have something just like you did with the ladder fire truck.
Are you wanting to start with just a pavilion? And not, are you wanting to start with just a pavilion, correct? And not all of, are you talking about that whole mock-up or just the pavilion?
Well,
maybe I'm not wording my question.
No, I don't know how to answer it. You can do this in stages.
Right.
And we talked about it, and I know Jack talked about it, where maybe we got enough money where we could put a roof up.
Right.
But we go in stages and then maybe put the walls up, put in electrical wiring, bathrooms and that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, Richard, I have and I know what you're saying, but I have the word pavilion with four poles and a flat roof or a teepee roof, X amount of sizes. But what you're trying to say is a building that can be added onto and add this other things too. So it would be more of a, in my opinion, and that's just me, because a pavilion to me is 4 poles and a roof. Like we have at our park right now with a bench and stuff underneath it. But what you're suggesting is like a
steel building.
Like you say, if we take a trailer, a mobile home, and put it this way, and then we leave a place for this pole, so, you know.
I'll put it this way, Cliff. The town council can put together what it wants on those 2 pieces of land. I am willing to be kind of like a grant writer and pursue money for it.
Right.
And I'm not saying what that pavilion should look like. I made a suggestion.
Right.
I needed something. But whatever you decide, I'm comfortable with it. but I just can't walk into an office without either a schematic or a plan or something. And I'm not going to go into an office if I don't have approval of the town council.
Right.
I understand.
I mean, and I know this whole pavilion thing, Richard, is a sore subject, but I found an old file, okay? And believe it or not, it's Curtis's stuff, and I know that may. But, and that's why I think when he brings up the walls and different things of a pavilion versus something, so with something like that, is that, I only have one copy of that, but I mean, where, is that something that you could start with and then, I don't know, I mean.
Well,
because this even, I mean, this, I think Curtis created it, had somebody create this, but it even had like an entryway
Yeah, it
into
did on
the,
that first, an archway thing.
yeah, an archway into the thing. So, but I guess that's why we're getting, I mean, and here's the view from what would be the archway. But I guess that's where we're getting confused on what exactly we would be.
well, to me, I don't know the dimensions of this building. I don't know if that's to cover the whole, both lots or what it is.
I don't know. I might have more notes in here somewhere. I don't know. I found a file and so I
It's going to be an enclosed pavilion, correct? I mean, did you say that?
I think that should be the final go, yeah.
I think his was pretty much like 175 by 130.
What's the one that we bought?
Huh?
What was the size of the pavilion that we bought?
The two pavilions, or the two metal thingies, oh, I found that paper too. One was a 50 by 100 and one was a 70 by 70.
50 by 100. And what was the other one?
70 by 70.
No, you're fine.
But that's, I don't know, I came across these and I thought I would just.
They're there. My problem, and this was done after the two used buildings were bought. And the former Public Works Director was allowed to spend up to $5,000 without the town council's permission. So that's how these drawings came about. The town council did not approve the architect or what should be in the pavilion. It was a spur of the moment decision that was made. When you have something like this, let me go back through it. That alleyway back there should be turned into a pedestrian walkway. What it does is it brings Main Street into it. What'll happen, people will fix the back of their buildings and incorporate it into the pavilion. That's one thing. The second thing, I think it should emulate, and it'd be very easy to do. It could be very easily done on this building or any other steel building to emulate the architecture of the oil industry. I also would like to see windmills brought in, because our future is the oil patch and the windmills. I don't want to make this sound like it's easy. Go to one big donor and bam, we get a, what'd you say, $10 million for the library. That's probably not going to happen, but that's where I'd like to start. And I think having something that, an architecture, which you can take this plan and simply tweak it and make it look like a refinery or whatever. I think that would be an inducement to get the donation. And you have naming rights. The Love Station the Love Foundation, I think, gave $10 million to the University of Oklahoma for their softball field. So evidently, these foundations have money to give away. So this to me is just a partial, because you're not laying out what you want your street to look like, what the pedestrian walkway, the park area, and that sort of thing. They're using that land for parking, but that's not enough parking. So don't waste that valuable land on parking. People can park, just like going to a football game at OU or OSU. You park away, further away, and get to the stadium. I've seen these kinds of events, and what they'll do is run a shuttle. And we kind of did it with our wine festival. We take the golf carts and shuffle them. People don't object to that. People
Well,
attending, they don't object.
I will tell you that if you build something,
Mhm.
you have to have parking on it. It's part of the codes.
Okay.
So
Well,
you
you're not,
do have to have, I mean, you do have to have parking.
well, okay, that's a very good point, and I can see the point, but I just wonder how much thought was put into this.
I don't, I found it in my files, so.
When you have we get 1,000 people for the wine festival. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Richard,
21,
Richard, let me jump in there, because what I just proposed, I want to be really active in this, and I love what you're doing. But I think you're taking that drawing too literally. I think that is a concept that you can present and say, look, this is kind of what we're thinking. We'll start with a roof with 4 corners, but build it in a way that it can be turned into that, or it can have sides or roll-up doors. It can even have a full kitchen and bathrooms and everything, but we want to start with that. And it's probably going to mean getting an engineer involved for best use, so we don't just stick up things willy-nilly and then find out later that we put it in the wrong spot. But I really think that, because I witnessed this park concept in Colorado Springs. If you get to Old Town Colorado Springs, they have a park like this. It's themed, but I don't think getting stuck on it's got to be exactly this, because if somebody comes in with, Harold Hand shows up and says, I want to give you $1 million, but I want it to be a Hawaiian theme. I don't want to be stuck on oil field theme. I want to be a little flexible with it and get what we could really use. So I think by counting parking spots and the building's the wrong color in the drawing, I think you're maybe getting stuck on that. The goal is to get an entertainment area with a roof that is laid out properly in the first place, that it can be expanded upon, made into a park, it could be made into all kinds of things. But I think the #1 goal would be get the land usable and then get, a nice structure up to where you can make anything you want out of it after you get past that point. And do it in stages. Stage 1 is a roof. Stage 2 would be, an entrance and windmills and, those kind of things.
I think, given all the wind we've had for the last few weeks.
Yeah, probably phase 2 would be walls. But a lot of these that I've witnessed lately, and I've traveled, and every time I get into a town, I go looking for their area like this, and I found like 4 of them last week. And at the next meeting, I'll have photos. I'll have my research where I can show you what I'm thinking. But almost all of them had glass garage doors, so they can be rolled up, and it's an open air building, or they can be closed down, and they still have lots of light, but it's now an air conditioned building. And it would just need to be engineered that way going in, that, all right, look, in 5 years, we're gonna put overhead doors on this thing.
I think what you're saying is excellent. I have no problem with that.
So I really think that the fundraising that I've done in the past, that's just a concept drawing. And those are really nice. We paid how much for them, might as well use them. And just say, look, this is a concept. It is not what the final product is gonna look like. And as we start raising some money, we can tweak the project, and someone may have a special request. You know, I want a gazebo on the left corner, and here's $500,000 to do that. So I don't want you to get stuck on just that. I know you're not, but that's a concept. But I really think the drawings you have will get you started.
I think that's excellent. Maybe if you would give me the pictures of the
And I've got
things
a
you've
lot
seen,
of
I would,
them. I've got a
I
lot
think
of
what I'd like to do is make a booklet.
And give people an idea, a concept idea of
Yeah,
what.
you have a map of the area, maybe a few pictures of Main Street, some of the features we want to, have a booklet. So I can,
Yeah, you need
Send it out.
materials to leave with them, and sure.
I think that would be good,
I think,
to where you start with something to show people, but not,
the final thing.
yeah,
Okay.
you know,
I'm
to
fine
where
with
we
that.
can add to it. Because,
I'm just afraid that somebody's gonna donate and go, well, I thought you were gonna put a
3 windmills that are green.
yeah.
Yeah, I think,
And I only donated because of that, you know,
Sure.
and
yeah, we're just gonna have to be
well, I
careful
think it's
on,
gotta have a disclaimer on it.
yeah,
that
there'll be,
This is a concept picture.
yeah,
you know.
because if someone's gonna give you $1 million, there's gonna be a contract involved. And that contract can be very specific as to what proper usage and these kind of things, so.
That's fine with me. And I also want to repeat what I said at the last meeting, and I would always work through Tiffany. She's got a plate on her plate, but I would want her to know what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, and that sort of thing.
you can come see me anytime or message me or.
Well, I need to see you every other day.
Okay, anything you wanna, further you wanna do?
Right, if you want to hold up on this so I can put a little booklet together, I'm comfortable with that. I got to put a little booklet or something together.
Okay,
And I'll bring it to the meeting and then,
yeah,
then ask for this. How's that?
okay. That'd be fun. Making any thoughts or objections? Okay, item M is discussion with possible action on the Hennessy Sokol owned high school gym auditorium. Auditorium, gym, library, war memorial, Boardman Theater. Richard?
Well, I think we got to get on the same page with this, so I'll hand this out. I don't know. I was going to ask for this to be approved this evening, but it's not going to happen, obviously.
Sorry.
I think, Bert, the biggest thing came up, I think the most valid question that came up in the last meeting was, are we going overboard and going too many directions? You know, pick one thing and pursue it. And my response is, these are two different things. You have the whole idea that makes legacy giving is there's some kind of emotional purpose behind it. So you'll have people that are maybe wanting to donate, or willing to give a grant for a pavilion, but won't have anything to do with the library. There may be people that would be willing to help with the library, but don't want to do anything with the pavilion. And there's 2 examples. Mr. Kopichon, who gave all that money to the Hennessy Educational Foundation, that was his interest, versus the very nice person that gave money for the chapel out of the cemetery. So you have different emotions and donors and foundations with different perspectives. So I don't think it's stretching too far to pursue both of them.
Okay.
But I don't, on this school thing, I know, Harold, you don't want me to beat that thing to death, but I think this needs to be resolved. What you're going to do with the library and be specific about it. We're going to downsize the library, we're going to eliminate the museum. I'm going to tear down the old high school building. I want it resolved. I don't want to be out there sending materials to stuff,
Right.
making calls and burning shoe leather if the town council doesn't want this building and doesn't want the library or the museum.
And I don't know that we're in a position to resolve that as of yet.
I think the only way you resolve it is with a vote, put it up for a vote by people of Hennessy. And if they, I think the cost of a special election is $2,500. If you eliminate the library within the election, more than pays for itself.
You're talking about doing that right away instead of waiting till we get some public feedback, or?
I don't think you can sort through public feedback. I'm sure you can line up people for and against it. And it will be emotional, but the only way to resolve, the only way to be accepted by either party is if there's a public vote. So if we, the town council, didn't do this, we had a public vote, and this is what the community decided. I'm sorry, the community voted to tear down the high school, the community voted to eliminate the library. We didn't have anything to do with it, we gave you your fair chance. That's what I would do. Oh, so that's the end of my discussion on that point. You go on to the next topic.
Okay.
But you need to do something. I'm not going to pursue money to preserve, to enhance the buildings there until this issue is resolved. I'm not going to waste my time.
Right.
You would have to, in order to go to the vote, you would have to develop language or resolution. And then that would be on the, put it on the agenda to call for a vote and to come up with language in a resolution on how you want the ballot written, is how you would do that.
And I think to put it to vote, there's going to be a way to fund it.
Yes.
Because people are not, we can't ask people to vote for something we can't fund. I mean, everybody would probably vote to have a beautiful complex down there. But unless we know how we're going to pay for that,
To me, it'd be like, we went 3/4 cent sales tax, going towards building the library.
You could make the vote kind of an opinion vote.
I'm sorry, I can't hear, what did you say?
You can make the vote kind of an opinion thing. We could say, the thing could say, town council is to pursue preserving and maintaining the old high school building and the library and the museum, subject to the availability of funding, grants, and legacy giving.
oops.
Something like that.
I think people who vote yes need to have some money involved in it. I really do. I think they need
They
to
do have
have some skin in the game, and I can't remember, I've been covering school boards, so bond issues aren't something that you all are fond of, but sales tax, I mean, it's the way we're funding the swimming pool.
See, that's just what, what we like, how many years on the swimming pool, we pay it off. You take away the sales tax off the swimming pool.
It would probably be in about 7 years we'll have it.
All right. Just like the school bonds, paid off in another, the bond we just passed, what is it?
I think they got another year.
So they're gonna come back up and they're gonna ask for
Yes.
something already, you know that. So, like what we discussed in in previous meetings is we need to be on the stick to do something. As soon as that swimming pool runs out. But the other thing of it is, that library needs attention now, not 7 years from now. If that's the case, all we're doing is what previous administrations have done, is to put a Band-Aid on it and keep it on going.
Well, my position is that, I think my position is there's been because I've been attending these town councils meetings for the last 9 years, there's just no interest in disdain, almost a disdain for the library and old high school building by the town council. They just don't want to tackle that issue, and it got postponed and postponed and postponed and postponed. It's destruction of the building and the library by neglect. That's my position.
Was it the swimming pool, or what was it? Well, Hennessy United helped, and we had to get people to sign that they were positive, they were in favor of it. Was that?
I still have those little cards.
I was just saying, I remember walking every single street of the town for 2 days.
What was that?
We went to ball games, we went to
I
all
know,
different
but
things to
was
get
that to help
people,
get the money?
to see if they
Yeah,
would,
to see if there was
if they would
funding.
vote.
if they would support it.
Well, that would be an option, I guess. Right, Richard? I mean, wouldn't you think?
No, because it's not an accurate representation of the population.
But a vote's not gonna be accurate either, because
Yes, because
You might have
every
200
person
people that show up out of
out of
What
the,
we have
2,000
in
that are registered
in the
too,
last
so.
election,
yeah.
100 and-
that was a
We
big
had
vote's not gonna be
103.
accurate either.
103,
Something like that.
right, 103.
Yeah,
$20 a vote.
I mean, but look what
Osborne.
what got done because of that. I mean, because it got people in the community talking about it too.
Well, Jack, let's do this. Let's start somewhere. I go on to sports boards. I waste a lot of time on the sports boards. But every once in a while, they'll say, who's the greatest pitcher of all time? And they'll list 2 or 3 choices. Can you do an opinion poll
Sure.
on all about Hennessy?
Yep. Yep.
And I won't mention that there's a $2 million gift there to support the library and the old high school building.
Yeah, I think you and I need to have a discussion on how to word it. And I'm still a little stuck on, if you get a 90% yes, we want to keep it, it's still that, well, how do we fix it? There's no money to fix it. But, yeah, I think it would be good to know, is there any interest in keeping it or not?
I think you could put the language in there that costs are a factor. And you can do certain things. I asked the architect, I said, I've seen where they come in and just take everything out and leave the outside shell and go back in and put everything new. To me, that's no different than tearing down a high school building. And if you want to preserve the space of the library and of the museum, then you go right back up with it, within the historic shell.
Sure.
I don't think there's any, this whole issue, there's not any alternatives considered. You could put a firewall and block off the auditorium.
But you're still talking almost $8 million to do it properly. That's the hang-up. That's the hangnail of the whole thing is, can someone dig up that kind of money? And even if you did it halfway and it was $5 million, where's that coming from? I know you're gifting like 3, but it's over the period of a really long time. It's not like a chunk of
I
money.
never made any bones about that, Jack. For example, Tiffany got a $300,000 community block grant by kicking in $125,000. You can take that $3 million.
And grow,
They get
and
5%.
grow from it.
In the first year, you get 5% from the community foundation It's located, Oklahoma, it's located in Oklahoma City, so you get 5%, so you get 150,000. The first year, these community foundations, the one in Enid, Cherokee Strip, and the one in Oklahoma City, historically, they've averaged a 5% return. So you get another 150,000. Now you've got 300,000. And if a grant requires you to have 25%, then you can blow that 300,000 up to $1 million. And just keep doing it. The whole building's not going to collapse overnight. You address the issues as they come up and work your way to it. It's a 20, 30, 40-year project.
Yeah, I can see a long-term project. It's not just something we're gonna snap our fingers and fix with a vote.
Yeah.
But, yeah, let's get together and work on language for a poll
Okay.
and see what happens.
Why don't you take the first shot at it?
Okay.
Because you know I'm kind of biased.
Yeah, well, let's schedule a time to come over and I'll show you kind of what I think.
You develop it and I'll come over.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. Folks, we're going on 4 hours here.
I'll go through the next one very quickly.
I think we need to, on discussions like this, we need to possibly set aside a special meeting just for a purpose, instead of trying to do it all in our business meeting. Okay, anyway, discussion with possible action to approve firearm surplus list from the police department. Huh?
Bert, I still got the sales.
Oh, I missed one. Okay.
Got the sales.
Discussion with possible action on updated sales tax collection.
I'll go through this real fast, take me 30 seconds. Page 2.
Sorry.
I'm gonna wait till it gets this one. I'm going to do this in 30 seconds. It's timing me. Okay, page 2, sales tax 2022. January 125,000, February 115,000, March 97,000. You see what happened in April. It dropped to 89,597. I don't know why it's jumping up and down like that. I have no idea why it would be doing that. I don't know, Tiffany, if you got your figures in for May yet?
Yes, it was over 100.
It was over 100, but good. We're not going down anymore. Page 3, I got 15 seconds. It has all the cities listed that are published in the Kingfisher paper. Hennessy and Hitchcock were the only 2 towns where it went down. That caught my eye. And what that means, I don't know. I don't know where we're...
That's in comparison to the previous April, the previous year.
Pardon?
That's the April of this year to April of last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm. So Hennessy is the only one, Hennessy and Hitchcock are the only 2 towns that where the collections went down. And I don't know what that means, but it caught my eye. And I'm calling it to everyone's attention. My 30 seconds is over.
Okay. Item O, discussion with possible action to approve firearm surplus list from the police department.
It's 2 firearms, you guys approved handguns before, surplus. We still have those, but I'd just like to add 2 more firearms to that. It's gonna be...
How are we disposing of these?
So from what I've been told, you have to have, it's a blind bid and 3 different people who are dealers will take the highest. And they have to be, because the 2 that I'm putting on there now are fully automatic, so none of us can even shoot these firearms at the police department right now anyway, so. I think it would, if the longer they sit there safe, the more somebody might think they could use them.
Yeah, not either.
Motion to approve the firearm surplus list from police department?
Second. Roll call?
Harold,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Initial presentation of the 2022-2023 Town of Hennessy budget.
You guys have that, please come visit me. The general fund is, and this is just with the managers giving me their numbers and me going through the income. But the general fund is about 100,000 over. So I'm gonna meet with the managers over the next couple of weeks and we're gonna start doing it.
New business? Citizens' comments?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to work with all of you. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with this community over the past 3.5 years. Obviously, I'm here till July, but, and I will continue to work with the board and with the town with whatever they need from me until I leave. But I just wanted to say thank you all again for giving me the opportunity to come into your community as a stranger and to work with you and to support your community and your town. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lindsay, I have relatives in Nebraska, so I'll pop in Concordia someday.
Yes, if many of you are up there, come see me at my new library. It's actually quite nice.
Councilperson reports? Okay. Okay.
Nothing.
I don't have anything at this time.
Richard?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
Cliff,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
All right, this will be a meeting of the Hennessy Utility Authority, May 12th, 2022. Roll call?
David,
Here.
Cliff,
Here.
Bert,
Here.
Harold,
Here.
Richard.
Here.
Item 2 is consider approval of consent agenda, minutes of the meeting. Approval of claims as follows: April purchase orders, $82,926.76. May purchase orders, $90,033.14. May meter deposit refunds, $330, and treasurer's report.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second, roll call?
Cliff,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Okay, citizens' comments. Other scheduled business, discuss, accept, approve, deny, reject, in order to take action on the following. Item A, initial presentation of the 2022-23, which, citizens' comment? Treasury report, that's included in the consent agenda. Presentation 2022-23, Hennessy Utility Authority budget, I guess same holds true, Tiffany.
Yes. That one, after getting the manager's numbers, I'm about 80,000 over, so.
Item B is discussion with possible action to approve proposal with Howland Engineering Incorporated for sanitary sewer system evaluation study to be paid for by Owrb Grant.
That's the one that we got
This is for the sewer system. We got from Owrb 220,000 to go and evaluate all of our sewer lines and then develop a plan for replace repair.
make a motion to approve proposal with Cohen Engineering Incorporated for sanitary sewer systems evaluation study to be paid for by the OWRB grant.
Second, roll call?
Harold,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Cliff.
Yes.
Item C, discussion with possible action to approve annual increase in water sewer garbage rates.
Let me just quickly tell you a little bit, I got with Alyssa and we kind of went over some of the pricing of different things from last year to this year. Our parts, our small parts, which includes the clamps and stuff like that, brass fittings, they have gone up 10%. Our valves and hydrants, they've gone up 20%. The CTS blue poly, which is like your 2 inches and your 1 inch lines, that has gone up 50%. And then our C900 PVC, which is your 6 inch line and above, it's gone over 100%. Testing supplies and equipment for the plant, they're all up 12%. Chemicals for the plant, the bleach is up 28%, the caustic is up 59%, and they've had 3 price increases since January. So this is included in that, but you know, they're increasing their prices about every 2 to 3 months. So, on the chemicals. Fuel, that's a big one too. Unleaded, which most of our vehicles use, is 36%, and then we use diesel in our machines, and that's 56% up just in the past year. So if you look at that stuff, everything has gone up over 10%, and most of it's anywhere from 30 to 50% range. So when we talk about water rates and stuff like that, I don't know that this year we could really just do like a small 3% increase and be able to get by with the way everything is increasing that we're using. So what I have given you is a sheet, and this is just something, because I don't want to go too high, but is a 10% increase, because that's the lowest increase that we've had in all of our stuff. And I think that we at least need to do the 10%.
Tiffany, we went through that 7-year period, I believe, where we never raised the rates.
Correct.
And I have a suspicion we're still trying to recover from that 7-year period.
I think we are, if the world hadn't changed like it had in the past 2 years, 3 years, I think we would be okay. But the world has changed so much, and everything is increasing at a dramatic rate, that it's just hard for, the garbage by contractual services, they can only go up 3%. So the garbage, I would say just keep it at the 3%. I mean, that way we're not hurting our citizens too much. But anyway, that's just something I thought I would bring to you guys. It will help me do the budget, but we can go with the budget the way it is, and then you guys can vote on it next month.
Was your shortage in your HUA budget including this increase, or
No.
before the increase?
Do what? I didn't understand what you said.
Her shortage, she said she's about 80,000
Yeah.
underwater with HUA. That was based on the old rate or this new rate?
I think that's based on the old rate.
Okay. So this would help ease
Yes.
that pain. But when you're projecting expenses, have you projected enough? Who knows?
Yes.
I mean, who would have thought a year ago diesel was going to be $5.15 a gallon?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year, it
Crazy.
was, the most we paid last year was $3 a gallon.
Man, unleaded's up over 4. Like 404, 405.
Yeah,
That's
and
gas.
we paid,
Diesel's
Yeah, now for
$5.15.
Yeah.
unleaded is now $4.05, and we're paying $2.90, or we paid $2.98 a year ago.
Yeah.
So I went and
So
tried
it's-
to look at different things too.
It's crazy. Tiffany, what's your recommendation to look this over and bring this back up? I mean, we've got to keep up with expenses. We can't slide backwards. We can't produce a product and sell it for less than what it's costing us. So
You know, Bert, I see the expenses going up. I was in Walmart today and going to the gas pump. I don't think there's any reason to delay on this.
I'm just wondering if this is enough,
Oh, okay,
you know?
okay.
But I hate to, I don't wanna overdo it, you know?
Well,
We're in
but
a-
I say we could do this, and then if things like 6 months down the road, things
look
have
at
just
it again.
continued to skyrocket, you guys could do another price adjustment.
Right.
Uh,
I think that that's how everyone's kind of doing right now.
Everything's going up in every 6 months. I went to the grocery store, got 4 bags of groceries, $200. And I didn't buy any meat,
Yeah, I know.
so.
I have no problem with adopting this. I mean, that's,
I make a motion to approve the annual increase in water, sewer, and garbage rates.
I'll second that.
Can
Y'all need to put the percentage,
you put the 10% for water and sewer?
10% for water, 3% for sewer,
No,
Or-
10% for water and sewer and 3%.
for garbage.
10% to water and sewer, and 3% for garbage.
Effective when?
It'll be July 1st with the budget.
Was that seconded?
I did, yes.
Roll call?
Harold,
Yes.
Cliff,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Okay, new business? Citizens' comments? Council person reports?
One question I guess I had for Tiffany was, did we get the new trencher and the new trailer? They were supposed to be in like the 1st of May?
They were supposed to be this week at, the dealer. The dealer's supposed to get them this week, or get the trencher this week, I know, or the machine, whatever it's called.
I'm sorry, I probably used the wrong term. but-
Excavator.
Excavator, yes.
Supposed to get the excavator this week, and it takes them a little while to go through it and make sure everything's good before they bring it out to us.
So the trailer and it's gonna be about the same time so that they can,
We'll probably get the excavator before we get the trailer.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call. Roll call.
Oh, I didn't hear, sorry, I was.
Motion to adjourn. You second it?
Who did?
I second.
Okay, Harold,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Cliff,
yes.
David,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.